Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of DOD 45. I'm Tai of Art by Tai, and hello Adrienne.
Hello.
So today, do you know who we have joining us today?
So I have to admit something. I do, because usually I kind of stay out of it with this. But I thought, okay, you had mentioned to me who it was, and I thought, okay, I've never heard of this guy before, so I should at least give a listen to his music and see if I connect to it on any level or whatever. So I look him up. It sends me to his Bandcamp, and I go to Bandcamp, and I start to listen, and I'm like instantly hooked. He's saying something. And this, when I go for a run every day, I spend the last 20 minutes of it walking. I finish and then I walk for 20 minutes and I try to discover new music. And usually if I discover something new, it's something with lyrics that are actually speaking and saying something. And then if I find somebody, then I'll go and I'll look up through their Spotify and see what the rest of their music is like. And often it's usually just the one song that speaks. So I'm going through his album, Anti.
I'm tired of people saying they understand this game of entitlement, pride, petty fame, of people who swear they've got something to lose with nothing to gain. Listen, I got nothing to prove.
And every song is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I had to just sit down and listen because he was actually telling, he had something to say.
Yeah, he definitely does.
And listen to this. So I feel like his voice was just, it caught me as something I recognized, and I figured out if Saul Williams and David Diggs had a baby, it's, sorry, we haven't even introduced him yet.
No, I know. You just fired out of there yeah, but it's all right. That's good.
But listen to this. Okay, so go ahead and
Black
introduce
Stacy?
him. No, go ahead and listen. Play. I know. Go ahead.
Awesome.
Tell us who we're going to...
Well, today on the show we're having Blackliq.
Fuck that. If you're listening to this, I already died. I wake up every day ungrateful to be alive. If you wonder how I feel, nigga, I feel dumb. I'd rather die of starvation than fight over crumbs. Last week I took my mom to the hospital, nigga. I'm down a couple thousand and the threat getting bigger.
Which is, I think, short for Black Liquid.
Yes. So, listen to this. I don't know if the mics will pick this up or if you'll... Okay, so here's Saul Williams.
I used to hump my pillow at night, the type of silent prayer to make myself prepare for the light. Me and my cousin Lucy ranked the girls between 1 and 10, and the highest number...
Okay. Oh, but I didn't pull him up. Hold on.
That's okay.
Here's David. Listen to this.
Red blush, lipstick, she just crush a lot. Every pun pales in comparison, a joke to a jester. She inundated with dick, thick, and becoming conservative.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Hopefully you'll bring that up to him. I don't know. Sometimes it's weird, I think, for artists to be compared to somebody.
Well, I'm not comparing them.
No, I know you're not. I'm saying, I was going to say that I don't think that that's going to seem like comparing him. So I think you should bring that up to him. That's pretty awesome. Plus,
it's like a merging of sound. It sounds familiar.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I totally hear. I'm way more familiar with Saul Williams. Yeah. So I agree with you. He's definitely like Saul Williams. So, I'm trying to get rid of those us. So Blackliq, he's recent. Did you have something else you were gonna?
Well, I was just gonna say that I mean, not really. Like I made a whole bunch of notes because I was just so blown away by this guy and what he was saying. Like when I listened to the first maybe 6 minutes, 7 songs, I don't know, 5, 6 songs, I learned from him that his mom sleeps on his couch. He did a TED Talk, which I watched, and it was amazing. He teaches kids to rhyme.
Yeah, I was going to tell him that.
And his dad is serving life.
Yeah.
And then I just love, he calls out BS on social media.
So that his lyrics and his songs I'm curious if that's if he's definitely retelling it, or if it's hyperbole, or if it's definitely what's going on in his life.
No, he's definitely speaking.
It's very awesome. I was going to ask him about that. So he's newly signed to Strange Famous Records, which is Sage Francis's record label. His newest album out is called Time Is the Price. Mopes produced that album with him, and we'll have Mopes on the show. We're going to have.
So Mopes is a producer DJ or just
Producer rapper.
Okay.
And producer MC. That probably, yeah, the whole deal.
Because I listened to that Time album after.
Time Is the Price?
Yeah, whatever is on Spotify. And I realized why I've never heard Blackliq before, because he has like 40 albums.
You're just like stealing the words right out of mine.
Sorry, should I just be
No,
quiet?
no.
But
It's
I'm
just-
like, how have I never heard this guy?
Yeah.
But then I go to his Spotify and he's just got the one album on there with
Yeah.
Mopes.
Yeah, he's got on most streaming platform. I mean, that album is only available. So yeah, that's what I was gonna say. While that album is the only album that's available on a majority of the streaming platforms, I counted something like 40 albums on his Bandcamp, and went through almost all of them.
Yeah,
And they're
all of
they're
them, almost
awesome.
all of them are named Now. Or was it Now?
Yeah, well, yeah, and those are based off of his. So he's a radio DJ. He has a radio show. I think it's in Richmond. And here's something you may not know. A good friend of ours, Will Armstrong, who is also a host of the independent podcast, the Independent Artist podcast, and a fellow artist, traveling artist. He's a friend of ours. He told me that Blackliq used to do a show before Will's show, because Will used to be a radio DJ
In Virginia?
in Richmond. Yeah. So
kidding.
yeah, I somehow when I posted that we were going to have Blackliq on the show, Will reached out to me. Or you know what? Actually, I didn't even say that we were going to have Blackliq on the show because we didn't know if we was going to be on yet or not. But Will had reached out to me when Blackliq's album just dropped, and Will just texted me and said like, "Hey, what do you think of Blackliq?" I hadn't heard of him until Strange Famous, until he came out on
Reached out
Strange
to you?
Famous. But yeah, it was pretty cool. He's like, "Yeah, man, I think I'm gonna have him on the show." I was talking to Sage at the time, so I thought that was pretty cool. He said also, Will also said that Blackliq taught the hip hop class at Will's kids' school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he is a teacher and he teaches kids to rhyme, which I think is amazing, giving back to your community in
Yeah.
a way that's not boring.
Well, yeah, something interesting for kid. Yeah, because it is definitely hard to connect with teenagers as just like a regular teacher that stands up there and draws on the chalkboard.
And he might not even, it might be younger too.
Yeah, I don't know. He's also featured on Alexander Brown's very new album. Alexander Brown is a producer who I just did the album cover for. The album's called Glow Kid, and Blackliq is featured on the song What's the Difference? It's a really cool song. That whole album of Alexander Brown's is fantastic. We're also going to be having him on the show here pretty soon. Blackliq is out of Richmond, Virginia, and mostly all I know of Richmond or even Virginia is like all the Civil War history. Do you know anything else about Richmond?
Well, I do. Which I found that funny. Their logo or their slogan isn't it? I think it is. Virginia is for lovers.
I don't know. I told you I don't know anything about Virginia.
He has like an album or a T-shirt or something that says Virginia is for haters.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
But
I saw his shirt. I thought that was a cool
fun.
shirt. I hope he sells those. Well,
I didn't even get to that part of his band camp. I was just
going through all 40 of his albums.
No, I was just listening to that Anti album and that one with Mobes, but that Anti album was from 2019, so it's still pretty relevant.
Yeah. Well, I love his voice as well. I'm glad that you pointed out that it had a very Saul Williams-y sound to it, because it was very familiar to me when I first heard him. And I guess I am slightly embarrassed or ashamed that I haven't heard of him before, but I guess that doesn't even matter because I've heard of him now, and I'm a fan.
You know what it was like when in my head I started listening to that first song. No, the second song on that Anti album. I can't remember. It doesn't matter what it was. But it was, in my head, it felt like, remember the Reading Rainbow book? And it opens up and there's like all this light.
Yeah,
and then a rainbow that comes out and butterflies. And like, whoa, it was good.
That's a brilliant way to describe it. You're much better at being able to give descriptive terms to things, because I had a similar experience when the very first song I ever heard of his was from that album, Life, Time is the Price. And I want the opening line on that album.
I write rhymes for the reasons that you fuck. I did shows with major artists and realized that they suck. All my heroes ain't dead, they just making a living. I know a whole lot of bitches and ain't none of them women.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, that's like I was hooked. I don't want to go too deep because I'm going to tell him about that.
Did you watch his TED Talk?
I didn't, no.
It was only like 4 minutes long, but I have to rewatch it. He gave so much information in such a profound way that I'm like, I'm going to have to watch this like 6 or 7 times to let it all sink in, what he's saying. And then he also had a line that I also related to, which was, I hate everything, even my own music. I don't even know why I do this. But like in life, you're always doing something that you're passionate about. And you're like, what am I even bothering doing this for?
Yeah.
Like, I hate this. I don't even like it.
Yeah,
but I have to do it.
I mean, it appears that he's very good with his words, and not only that, being able to express himself. So I definitely want to ask him about where he got that skill to express himself, because that is, a lot of people have so much in them, but they have no outlet. They have no way to express it. Much like I talk about often on our show. Vocally and verbally and vocabulary-wise, I struggle a lot to express myself, but I have my drawing to be able to dump everything that I'm trying to say. I'm trying to get better at this. With the podcast is definitely a way for me to get better at expressing myself. But I'm really looking forward to talking to him. I was going to say he recently just did a show with Dessa of Doomtree, I think a couple of nights ago. So I want to ask him how that went. And there's plenty to talk to him about. And I guess I'll bring it up. We'd been planned to be in the schedule at some point. We just didn't know when. But like this morning, we woke up to a car crashing into our car, and so it was a weird way to wake up. And then I got a message from Sage Francis, and Sage was like, he can go today. And so like we just like, boom, let's do it
together.
So I came up with my drawing for him today, literally 10 minutes ago. And so he's here. He's ready. Let's go ahead and
let's take a quick break from a word from our sponsor, then we'll be right back.
Our sponsor. We'll be right back with Blackliq.
Are your walls blank and begging to be decorated? Or are you tired of having art that is basic?
Yes.
It has never been easier to purchase art that is just as unique as you. At artbytai.com, you can find art prints and original pieces of artwork done by master pen artist Tai Adrienne. But that's not all. You can also shop ready to hang limited edition art and a new children's book, as well as coffee table books. So don't spend another moment looking at walls that don't reflect who you are. Go to artbytai.com today.
Do it now.
All right, so hey, Blackliq, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me slide this a little bit too. My homie, I gotta have my homie in the background for y'all too, real quick. Let's see if I can get him. Let's see. I know he's there. Where he at? There you go.
Is that
y'all see
Nick
my
Cage?
man's Nicolas Cage? Yeah.
You and Slug.
Yeah, you.
That's where it came from.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's my man's, yo. And we always joke back and forth about it. And yeah, he got me. So I got him. So I wanted to make sure it was in there so that he knows.
That's funny because
it's a part of my life.
That's funny because all my closest friends know the person that I have just not liked forever was Nick Cage.
Oh yeah.
But 2 nights ago, I was out with my really close friend who we talk about movies all the time, And he was like, okay, tonight's the night you prove it to me. Let's go through all the movies that you will at least say that Nick Cage is good in. And there was like 20 of them. So I'm really not a hater as much as I thought I was.
Yeah. Hey, look, the thing is, man, is that Nicolas Cage, like on the start of my album, I had that line in there because it's like, yo, you can laugh at Nicolas Cage all the time, but then eventually you realize that like this guy is incredibly talented.
Yeah.
And it's his versatility. And I believe Nicolas Cage has thrived. Like one of my biggest premises is how much I'm into like telling my story. Like when I first started doing this, God knows when, I realized the one way I'd never run out of things to talk about is if I tell my life story and what's happening to me and with me. And what Nicolas Cage does, because I consider that to be a very challenging form, he challenges himself, and that's what allows him to have that feeling of being driven by what his field is, what his passion is still like constantly pushing himself to bring a piece of himself into something new. And that's why I am also known as a Seagalologist. And Seagal, he kind of got lazy with the films. He started just playing like this Neapolitan form of different ethnicities as this one universal character who was always against the CIA, but former CIA, Black Ops, keeps a certain gun, all this kind of stuff. But like Nicolas Cage, you never know who's going to show up. Right. And even to this day, and so, I can go on and on, but I'm going to tell you, man, if you have not seen Bad Lieutenant 2, Port of New Orleans.
You like that?
Oh my God, that movie is horrible and it's great.
I haven't watched it. Bad Lieutenant, the original Bad Lieutenant was one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh yeah, Harvey Keitel killed it. But I will tell you this: Nicolas Cage had never seen the original when he made the new one, and it's just like it is a must watch. If you were to say, hey, Black, what's one movie I should watch today? I would say, yo, you need to watch that Bad Lieutenant 2. Like it is special. Okay. Well, that's all I could say.
Adrienne and I just watched Pig, and it was fantastic. Like that's.
Oh yeah, he was that not?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
I think I didn't like the ending.
Oh, Adrienne hated the ending.
Didn't I? I always forget a movie right after I watch it.
I don't want to spoil it, but
I think I didn't like the ending, but I do remember it was like truffles and
yeah,
it was good.
I thought that it was a brilliant lesson on loss and how loss is often what we end up hanging on to after we lose something, and the intensity and tension of all the interactions of his character with the different narrative elements, it constantly made you instinctually expect violence. And instead, what you had is the violence of emotion. So I was really impressed by, because I don't go to the theater that often, but me and my homie, my man Bando, we went and saw that. And we were expecting it to be like some crazy shit. And instead, it was just such an incredible, like you have to be in a place to appreciate a movie like that, or should I say a film, because that was some film shit. Yeah. But it was really incredible how they did, like when the guy eats the food and he starts to cry, it's like emotions are more exact than the approximate aspect of language. And we spend our entire lives trying to describe something because we don't understand it. It's only the things that we no longer have to put into words that we truly have an understanding of. And I mean, with your medium here, a picture is worth 1,000 words, they say. But pictures themselves are, they represent the assemblage of different thoughts and interpretations, let alone your gift of taking perhaps something that's three-dimensional and presenting it on a 2D format. Like all these different things represent the greatness and brilliance of the mind, and also sadly the limitations of the human experience when we try to communicate to each other. Yeah. But that's the beauty of these art forms, though. And is that we can touch somebody just in an instant and through a sense that's beyond the obvious one, which would be sight. Like for him to hit the hardest villain, instead of having a fight, it was done through a meal. Yeah. Like
true love.
And it was incredible.
Well, so just the fact that was the way that was his way. That was how he was gonna. That was the way he was gonna prove to that guy. He's like, I'll just cook you a meal and you'll discover on your own all this hatred you had towards me. And you're better. You're so much better with words than I am.
You are. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you.
I just watched your TED Talk, and I just got done saying in the intro, I was like, It is amazing, but I'm going to have to watch it like 7 more times to like let what you're saying marinate into, or what you said, marinate into my head, because your vocabulary is so good, and just your way with words is so good that I'm like, ooh, I just get perked on these other parts of it, and I forget to listen to the sentiment of what you're saying, because I got to go back and do it again and do it again.
Thank you. I was put in a very intimidating situation for that. They told me I was going to be in the middle, and then the day I got there, they're like, "Yeah, you're at the end. You're headlining the TED Talks," and I was like, "Okay." And I didn't write that. I just got up there and said it. So like, it was one of those things. Like, I really do believe in the trust fall of creativity, and I just connected with the audience and let go, and I walked away. No, like finding out that I'd apparently said something that has had so much meaning. And that was one of the most life-changing moments for me. And it was just something that, like, I had applied for a job at that place a long time ago and didn't get it, and got played, and it got lost in a rich neighborhood. And it was a challenge for me to decide, like, yo, are you really going to pursue this as your purpose and your passion? Are you going to let it take you where it takes you, even if it takes you through hell? And I chose. And to be back there at full circle like that, it was truly something that was so meaningful for me. And then for me to be able to communicate to people something that has motivated so many other people is like, just, it's beautiful. So like, thank you so much. I did a show with Dessa Sunday night.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how that show went.
Oh, it was banging, man. But after the show, somebody came up to me and told me they watched the TED Talk, and I was like, get out of here. Like, I always forget that, like, that's out there. Because, you know, we get caught up in this idea. I loved in your email the discussion of the fact that this is very much, you know, conversational driven, because we get caught up so often in trying to promote this or that we forget that it's the other things about us that truly are the most interesting. People put themselves behind their product when their product should just be something that helps you say, okay, this is a way that I can quickly experience what this person is. But again, my meaning is not just in records. It's in talking and doing things and trying to help people. So like, it was really, really beautiful. And, you know, Dessa's crowd is the kind of people who are into that.
Yeah.
So it was a great show. And, you know, I'm real raw when it comes to performing. I'm real raw and aggressive. You know, I get it in. Yeah. So like, I was able to hit them with that, but also like tailor it and make the show like a conversation. And then I had a lot of conversations afterwards.
Do you feel like it's one of the benefits of this? Like, I know there's a lot of discussion about internet and stuff kind of being the decline of society and all those sort of things. But from an artist standpoint, we talk about it quite a bit, how back then when we just kind of got music out, you would maybe see liner notes, but you never really knew anything about the particular artist that, you know, whose album you bought. But now we know so much about the artist, and I feel like it amplifies the music to like when you're listening to someone's album and you can hear what they're saying and know a little bit about their background, it just adds to what you're gaining from the music. I feel I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on your perspective on world building. Some people believe that they have to create a castle of ego in order for you to actually be interested in what they're doing, and that's where I think the medium and the opportunity betrays the artist. But like, the best ones, or to say the ones that I feel the most, are the ones who do. Their music is like a garnishment for their world, because ultimately, you want it, like, this day and age, the game is designed around getting people to follow the brand, and the brand has to be authentic in my world. So when I can look at an artist and I know that they are who they are, and their music is nothing more than an extension, and it is still a depiction of that, it makes me want to listen to their music more. It makes you want to look at that. It makes you want me to play that. It makes you want to play their music on the radio more. Like, it's all the kind of thing where it's like, yo, I know I'm sharing a piece of this person's life versus just some shit they made up to sound cool. Yeah. And the internet is a great way to like vet that. So
I will admit that I had never heard of you before. You had said something about one of his posts. You need to get that started.
Well, no, I will have to start the timer to start drawing, but I like the opening.
I had never heard of you, and then as the three of us know, this just kind of like happened real quick, this interview today, so I thought, okay, I better listen and figure out who this guy is before, you know, we get in here, and I was just saying this on the opening, and so I Google you, you come up on Bandcamp, and so I click on your album Anti, and I click on the song Anti, and I'm hooked. You're telling something that's real and that is authentic. You know, I guess real and authentic is the same. But I was like, okay, let's go back. And you had one song before that. So I just listened to the whole album through. And every single song, I was learning about you rather than just you just saying stuff. You know, just making rhymes and beats and things that all don't mean anything.
Yeah, you are really good at expressing your story or telling your story. Like,
Thank you.
That seems to be your gift.
Yeah, I'll tell you. In the first couple songs, I learned your mom sleeps on your couch.
Mm-hmm.
You did a TED Talk, which is how I found out. You teach kids to rhyme. Your dad is serving life. And that you call out BS on the media, like social media. Like
Constantly.
And like everything I'm hearing, I'm like, okay, this guy is real. He's not just like making stuff up to make people happy. He's telling his own story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often get hit up from young artists who are like, how can I get successful? How can I? And I always say there's not a way. But the one thing I can tell you is be authentic, be true to who you are, and if you are that way, the people will find you because people want real, true, and authenticity. They want that. That's what you. When people love something, they may not be able to pinpoint why they love it, but it's because it's authentic.
And that's how like things lined up with me and Strange Famous, and like, you know, me and Moats, we did the album Time is the Price, and that was like my debut on Strange Famous. And what changed between me and Moats when he started sending me beats was I started, like, at first I was like, I'm gonna do some songs for this guy just to let him know, I can rhyme, all that. But then I started telling like my stories, and I had no idea that like that would hit him in such an unusual way that it would steer the situation, because I'm just so used to, at this point, that's my focus. It's like me to you so that you can see what you can get over and do, and what you can get through, more importantly. And, you know, that has been who I am and what I do. And there's no like expectation or goal beyond that, because I do believe that there's no one way, but your way is one. And as long as you stick to your way, you know, at the end of the day, things will work out. And you, of course, you have to make plenty of decisions. I always try to demand people to be responsible in their lifestyle and whatnot. But like, I've made a shitload of mistakes in my time, believe that. But I like to tell those stories. Mm-hmm. And that's really what the music has been about for me, and then everything else. And it's exciting when people find me. Like, for you to say you hadn't heard of me is like one of the best things, because now you'll remember me and you'll learn about me. I hate when I feel like I know something, because that means I've decided that I no longer need to learn about it. It just becomes a part of my ignorance based upon assumption. That's why I love teaching kids, because they have shall we say, the ignorance of the premise versus the knowledge that leads to ignorance when you're an adult. They have the ignorance of youth and the opportunity to learn, whereas we think we know about it. And it's like, all right, cool, I know about that shit.
Oh, and I like, I do have to start this timer, but I like to say to people all the time, the best way to learn is to teach.
Yo, I'm telling you, one of the greatest decisions I ever made in my life was to get involved in education. And that just happened on some random stuff.
Yeah.
Teaching is so difficult too. You have to you have to know how.
Phone. That's my phone. I don't know why.
We'll
it's
pause.
ringing. Sorry. Oh, my brother.
There's nothing wrong with that. I got one of those.
A brother or a phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just, it's
That's
weird because he never calls me. So.
That's the kind of call that makes you nervous.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
Right.
I heard the ringtone. That's pretty nervous in itself.
That's why I don't like talking on the phone all that much.
I feel you.
Like Phil Bill's coming. She's coming.
Yeah.
With her
Okay, so that's just the opening discussion right here is like my most favorite thing before we start into the show, because I want this experience is to learn about you and what you can teach me and even my audience. I don't necessarily go out of my point. Oh shoot, I'll skip that. I sometimes start going somewhere and then I get lost. So.
Oh no! Hey, look, trust me, I know that feeling.
He's a pensmith, not a wordsmith.
Yeah, that's right. I do want to say I also had first only discovered you when you signed with Strange Famous, and when that album came out, Time is the Price, and your opening line in intro, your opening bars, those opening bars immediately told me who I was gonna follow for the rest of my I'm gonna listen to your music for the rest of my life, because it was on point. Everything about it said who you were and your sentiment, and I'm sold. So thank you so much for that, for hooking me right off the bat. Because then I went and saw you have about 40 albums on your Bandcamp. So.
Oh yeah, that the Bandcamp thing too. I'll tell you guys, if you navigate that, like the Now tapes. When I celebrated being on the radio for 10 years by going through like a good 2.5 years of radio shows of me freestyling, and at like going through and creating mixtapes off of those freestyles. So like the Now tapes, that's some special shit to me that I hope that as the path of discovery takes place for others through like awesome opportunities like this, that they do eventually fall into that place, because like, man, I was living during those moments, man. Like,
yeah.
And it's stuff that I wouldn't write about, or it's done in a way that I wouldn't write. And that's what's it's bled into what I do now, certainly. But it's just something I am immensely proud of, because it's like, not many people can say they have 120 freestyles that are all dope without curse words that are from a live session. Nothing's written. Yeah. It's all just straight up. It's all
I
off
didn't
top.
listen to any of those. So I'll have to go back.
Yeah, prepare yourself. You can do it in any order. They're all bound by a theme more so than anything else. Like number 12 is kind of like, because it is the final one out the whole year's series. It's a little more like, I guess, definitive in some ways, but it's also like the thank you tape. So any of the other ones though, have at it, man.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's where we definitely want to send everybody to your Bandcamp to see to get a whole load of who you are.
Or they will be destroyed.
The Mopes album isn't on there.
Yeah, no, that's on Strange Famous's joint. You know what I'm saying? We kept it there because that's my I just to have, and also I saw an email. I don't care what the time is, bro. I'm good.
Okay.
I ran a million errands today so that I would be free for this. Like Sage hit me, and the last minute I was like, hell yeah, I'll just shift everything around. So I condensed my plan, knocked it all out, and I'm all yours.
I like to set the timer so it forces me to be able to get the drawing. Just recently, though, I started doing a quick outline first, so that because I realized when I was watching back my old episodes, it's kind of boring to watch the part when I'm kind of trying to figure it out, and I'm able to get a little more done now when I have the design laid out. So I'm gonna be doing that black cat for you.
Hell yeah, yo, kitty thug. That's what I'm talking about. I got 3 hanging in the crib right now, man. I take care of 3 kitty thugs and my mom's, man, and it's an adventure every day. It's love and loss, man.
How is your mom?
Driving me crazy as always, but better than ever in my opinion. Like she's got some steps to take on her path to full recovery, but she is definitely thugging it out. And it's one of those things, you learn so much about life when you end up being the parent of your parent. And we had some scares this year. She almost lost a foot. We thought that
she diabetic?
she had it was off of a circulatory issue because of the fact that the circulation wasn't that good towards the feet, and she did a compression stocking, as it turned out. But she had like a wound or something, and then because of the lack of circulation, which affects the lymphatic system and everything else, she didn't get it didn't heal and just got more infected, and then that messed with her mind. And that's when things got really weird. Yeah. And so I got to witness and experience a lot of strange stuff. But, God was on our side, man. And they told me flat out, they were like, yeah, they called her the BKA because they were going to do a below knee amputation. Oh. And she had 1 weekend to see what kind of healing she could do on a wound vac. And they were like, yo, like she's already started regenerating tissue. Oh, this is incredible. And she was able to completely heal. And at the same time, her mind was also healed because the infection was gone. So, like, it was God works mysterious ways. I always believed my mom, when she passes away, would just disappear like a Jedi.
Yeah.
Like just because she's gotten. I believe when it's your time, it's your time. Like I almost died over the weekend,
Yeah.
And
wait, what?
He posted that about a car. You almost getting hit by that car.
A car just veered straight head on for me, like on an empty road. A car just decided after stopping at a light to just come head on at me, flying. And I looked at it and I was just like, it's not time.
Yeah.
And I just whipped right around that joint, man. It was like I was controlled. I drive left-handed typically. I'm like semi-ambidextrous, but like I lead with the left off and I was forced to right with the right. And I was driving and my right hand just went up and it just turned the wheel and I hit the gas and I just went right on by. And I was like, I mean, I've had those experiences a few times and it always comes with a dialogue internally that tells me like, this is it or this isn't it. And like, what's going to happen. And then it does. And, I'm not afraid of that shit. So like it was definitely invigorating. And I was not, the thing that came amazing was like I had to allow the adrenaline to exist. I wasn't really excited or hype or nothing. It was just like, 4 a.m, almost get killed.
Yeah.
Another day in Richmond.
It's almost like you get a couple of those in life that you are able to take stock of it and go, oh, that's what happens when I came that close. You start to build up a thing of recognizing it. Because I've had many just those, and she in fact we had a similar one where she was driving behind us and she almost watched me and her 2 kids.
Our kids. We're married.
Yeah, we're married. So so it was me and the 2 kids in the car, and she was driving behind us, and I didn't notice a stoplight at a 4-way going about 70 miles an hour, and I just went right through it, and she could see that I didn't see the stop sign, from behind, but she didn't want to honk or anything, so because she was afraid I would turn and then I'd forget. But
he would have just, all it needed was 1 second. He needed to like figure out that there was a stop sign there, because this car's coming and he's going and they're about to kiss, and if I honk, he's going to look back, keep going, and then just get...
And we were both going about... the car was going 70, I was going 70. And I just looked at the car and thought... I loved what you posted the other day. You said, I don't have time for this shit right now.
Yeah, I don't.
I had the same. I was just like, no, not going to happen. My kids, me. And then I didn't... It just was a move. Like I just did a move. I don't know. I just missed it. And then I took stock of... It was another one of those times where I was like, well, just wasn't my time.
Yep, and that's the thing. That's such a terrifying story, and I'm sure it was worse for her than it was for you.
That's what I say all the time.
and that's also the humbling truth of our existences, is that just as infinite as moments like that may seem, it represents the finite amount of time that we have, and we need those reminders to make the most of this shit, because
that's right.
Like I always try to tell people, being one of the figures of the city's like hip hop world, I always try to tell people that like the journey is the most important part. And if you, once you realize you're not wasting time, you'll stop wasting time, because hopefully you'll recognize the value of the time. That's how I came to the conclusion that time is the price, because people have always said, yo, you've been doing this for so long, when you going to get on, or this and that. And I was like, that's not what I'm doing.
Yep.
But the cost of all this has always just been time. Everything that I do is fueled by time, and manifested through effort and faith and lots of failure. So, we're all at those intersections doing 70, man. The question is, are we in the car or behind it?
That's right. You just said something that reminded me of a Deltron lyric. He said something like, it takes an entire lifetime to become an overnight success.
Yep, there it is, man. Yep.
All right, I'll just set this, and then, or did I already set it? I don't know, because I didn't start drawing. Because I like to point out I will be looking down at my drawing, but I am paying attention to everything you're saying.
Oh no, trust me. I believe I was like so fascinated by the premise, because I was like, this is going to be one of them joints where you trade senses. Like when I rhyme, like live or at the radio, whatever it is, I turn off one and to go ahead and tap into the other. But my words are my sight. And that's why I'm able to talk about what I'm seeing, but I can load that with what I'm feeling as well. So it's not a deviation or any sort of limitation. It's just a transmutation of the focus of creative energy. So I'm excited to see how it works for you.
Well, and my biggest concern is that I feel like, because I'm usually, when I'm talking to people, I like to look people in the eye, you know, and so I worry sometimes that it feels like that people are worried that I'm not listening to what they're saying. So
no, we're looking into each other's third eye right now.
That's right.
Hey, have you ever gotten your IQ tested? Because you are extremely smart.
No, I have not actually. But thank you. But I never have. No, it's one of those things, man. It's like psychosis. If somebody tells me I'm crazy, I might believe it.
Yeah.
Oh, so if you have a bad day and take an IQ test and it's low, then you're going to believe that? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. I mean, I don't believe that I would ever fail on an IQ test. I just believe that I would get what I'm supposed to. But then if I have identifiers, you know, and while there's certainly the challenges to reinforce identity through my own perspective, I just feel like they might know, you know, like, hey, I've always wrestled with that. Like, I've thought about taking one before, you know, like I've thought about it a lot, but I've never done it because it always does make me feel like, well, you know, being intelligent doesn't mean that I'm smart. And being wise, you know, wisdom is only recognized with those wise, and understanding is the grand equality. So when people tell me I'm like deep, it's just like I said in the intro, people tell me all the time I'm so deep and so wise. When we have a conversation, they can't look in my eyes. It's like, you know, people will recognize wisdom and devalue their intelligence at the same time. When it's like, nah, if you understand me, then we understand each other, which means that we are truly equal. And I would never want to be put in a position where my ego off of a high IQ score would make me think I'm smarter than so-and-so or something. Like, that's the other side of it. Because I really want to meet people where they are. You
know yourself well enough to understand that could be problematic by doing that.
Most certainly. Yeah,
I'm afraid that I would come up. Mine would. I'm probably a little. I feel like I'm smarter than I actually am.
But the way that you know you can draw is by drawing, right?
Yeah.
It's not because it's some shit you did.
That's right.
It's because it's what you do, and so that's also like that's the place I try to stay at. It's not that I can rap good or that I can write. It's that I will and I do it, and that's why I always tell people I rhyme. I don't rap.
I heard that. I heard you say that. Was that on? Where did you say you said that on something? I just listened to all sorts of your stuff within the last hour or two. I'm like, I've heard that. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's wild. Like to think about it like that. I'm so honored that you did. Like I've as somebody who's done media and stuff too, and on my radio shows I do interviews. I always try to treat people how I want to be treated. So like. The fact that you took the time, a crash course is always better than one that's been all these like things of like, oh, all right, cool. I know who this person is. This is their song. This is their thing. Like, cool. I know who they are. I know what I'm going to say. But like instead to find out how those new emotions, because our instincts are usually pretty right, even if they're wrong, and because our instincts are based on they're our rawest feelings. They're the ones that we haven't had time to sit on. So like when we instantly appreciate something. I believe that's like a great place to be. So thank you.
Yeah, and Adrienne's picky.
Thank you. And I don't show emotion.
That's
pretty
right.
much. Like I keep it on lockdown. Normally you can't tell if I'm happy, sad, excited, depressed. Like I'm pretty fair all the time, right?
We've fortunately been married for about 21 years, but early on it was a very interesting thing to navigate.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. I'm the same way, man. I'm the same way. I'm not I walk around places and everybody thinks I'm mad. I went and did a gig up in Rhode Island and they were like, I heard somebody actually say, yo, he smiled. And I was like, oh man, these people are looking at me and they must really think that I'm angry about something. And it's like, my anger does not mean that I'm mad. I'm angry about something. Certainly, I'm angry about a lot of things all the time. But it doesn't mean that that's all I am. And that's the problem. Is that some people who are mostly introverted, people like me and you, like we come across and people think that we're stoic and that we're not feeling or that we don't have the ability because for our mood to really be anything but what it seems to be because we're not expressing it. But then we make the mistake also of reading people who might be in a certain mood as that being all they're feeling and thinking. And it's a coin that, you know, regardless whether you make heads or tails of it, you know, it often results in assumption and misunderstanding.
Assumptions is super dangerous thing.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Well, well, I wanted to go on that, but I was going to leave that. We have a friend who used to do a radio show after you. He texted me and he said, "Oh yeah." He said something to the fact that like, he seemed like hard, but he's a sweetheart. But this friend is Will Armstrong. He used to do he's a fellow traveling artist. Let me hit you with a Sophie's Choice thing, since it's one of the things that I do on the show.
Yeah, lay it on me.
The first one, and since I can't ask him this, I'll hit you with it. Prolific or mopes?
Mopes.
Yeah, I always loved the prolific, like the moniker, but yeah, I mean, if you got to change it, you got to change it.
Yeah, the reason why I liked the name Prolific more, but when he told me that Mopes was his original rap name, and he said he felt like he'd come full circle, I said, how could I ever take a side on another man's circle?
Yeah. How did that the album that you were working with Mopes, how did that come about? How did you end up on Strange Famous?
But I'll give you the abridged version so it makes even more sense. Basically, what happened is that Sage hit me up because we go back from numerous interactions, and me and B. Dolan are cool from hanging out with Atmosphere when he was on tour and stuff like that. And they hit me up because I'd held them down on a date for a thing at the venue I used to throw events at. It all turned into just like, you know, friendship, like respect. Like that's what I've always carried, you know, everything I do by. So when Sage hit me, he asked me if I was interested in participating in this Strange Famous and Friends project they were doing. I was like, absolutely. And he sent me a bunch of beats, and I was knocking them out quick, like the 16s, because I work fast. If something speaks to me, I do it. And when Mopes heard those 16s, because he was making the beats, he heard the 16s and he was like, yo, who is this guy? Like, what's his deal? And next thing you know, like he hit me up and he was like, yo, you trying to do something together? And I was like, hell yeah. So because I don't say no, man. I say, let me know. And we ended up like connecting, and then I just kind of shifted. I started with records that were like songs that were, you know, a few songs and different like concepts. And then I just started telling my story. And then from there, you know, eventually say like when we were like, yo, well, I think I'm done, you know, I think we've got it, you know, because we had one where it was like, should we do this? Should we not? And I was like, yo, this doesn't fit. And then he ended up sending this up to Sage, and Sage was like, yo, we got to do something with him. And then we had a Zoom call. You know, Sage, I love Sage is about it, man. He'll give you that business look. You know what I mean? Like when I met him in person here at that gig, he was like, you know, he was in it. And like, you know, B. Dolan was the more affable personality. So I was really curious when we got on the line, like did a Zoom with him and Storm and Most and my partner BC. I was like, yo, you know, how's this going to play? And when I saw Sage smiling, I was like, this is it. This is the moment I've been waiting and working for so long. And just to have a conversation and be seen, like I never feel like I'm waiting, but I've always been just trying to earn a chance for somebody to like be interested in me. And they finally, like, you know, it was just love from the get-go. And I knew that like, it's time, man. And that's kind of how it all came together. And then I bothered people by just how much I want to work. And so I somehow didn't annoy Sage and Storm and convince them otherwise of working with me with my maniacal ways. And it's been beautiful. I like to, I won't go on any further really, but I just like to say that one of my most important things that I've been trying to share with people and also focus on myself is expressing appreciation and gratitude when you feel it. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to thank him at some time, or I'm going to like, this has been a true dream come true, and to work with people who understand me and also are willing to give me the opportunity to make decisions and be accountable, but back me and share their own perspective and help me see myself outside myself with respect and vulnerability has been just incredible. So, I mean, I can't thank Sage and Storm and Mopes like enough, like, and Alexander, Jesse, like, Cast One and early adopters. Like everybody's just been so cool, man, and just real. It's been amazing.
I feel like it's a great fit. I mean, it seemed like you just fit right in, like seamlessly. I don't know. I love the album. I love your track on Alexander Brown's album. It just seems Strange Famous has always seemed like a family whenever the family is together. Those who are in at the current time. So
I was wondering how he didn't sign you sooner. Like if he just didn't hear of you or what? Because I was like, okay, he's now on Strange Famous. But then, like I said, I was scrolling through your Bandcamp and I'm just like going, and all these albums are there. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. But I believe it's just like DMX. You know, like the industry was terrified of DMX for really unknown reasons for so long. You know, DMX, one of my heroes. I did 3 shows with him. And say rest in peace to that man. And you know, one of the things about X was that he never changed. He never took a shortcut. And that's just kind of, I guess, how it played out for me. I always believed, but I never was like, it's never been the easy way. It's the best way I'll say. It's never the easy way. And when I accepted, it's always the hard way. That's how we came across. Me and my partner established the premise of just a brand called No Other Way. And when that happened, that's when we made a shift. And then the pandemic kind of just changed things. But it was the best thing that happened and the worst thing that happened. Right. But you know, tests of faith are turned into testaments of faith.
For your money, who are some of the best MCs or rappers, past and present?
Ice-T. I think Slug is incredible. I think Slug will never tell you that he's good at what he does, but I love Slug's pen. Tech Nine is amazing. Even though people try to niche that, I think that he's incredible. X-Rated is amazing too. I've really started to get to know him a bit.
Can I ask you something real quick? Why do you think that people niche that Tech Nine? Because I tend to do the same, and I don't know why I even do that.
It's because his music is kind of juggalo-ish.
Right.
And I don't mean to ever compartmentalize that, man.
No, sure.
Because of the fact that he steps like over the lines of expected hip hop, like Tech Nine would be very capable of just doing some simple shit.
Right.
And he always goes and gives you way more than you were expecting. And sonically, he also was transcendent of the genre. And so people, like, he borrows from everything. You can tell that Tech Nine listens to everything. And he gives you everything in his music. And like, there's songs by Tech Nine that I can't listen to, but I can listen to them with respect. Like, yo, like this guy is a giant and he's an animal. And like, it's just, it's like Eminem. I only listen to Tech Nine to study what he's going to do or what he did.
Right.
Like, it's very hard for me to listen to Tech Nine because I'm a student. And, you know, it's like sitting in class. Like Eminem, like, I'll listen to him and be like, yo, what did he do this time? How far did he take it? And in his technical acumen and the ways that he does stuff. I mean, Eminem will always be one of the greatest rappers, but he also often is one of the guys with the least of anything to say. Like, whereas like someone like A$AP Rock, I love him. And he's unpredictable. And like, I love when him and Homeboy Sandman team up because they're both so great, but they also know how to allow each other to be great, despite the fact that their greatness is blinding sometimes. But I mean, I can say like I always will love like DMX. I believe was one of the best current. Like, it's hard for me to tap into like the current. I do radio and stuff, but it's hard for me to say like current wise who I look at is I'm not informed enough, I believe, because I listen to death metal. That's like all I listen to right now. I've been doing that for like 2 years now. And it's one of the situations where I'm confident while being ignorant. I get to learn every time I listen to death metal. I get to learn because I don't even know what I like. Last night I started listening to Napalm Death, and I was like, I wonder where this is gonna go. You know, and it's amazing. I mean, I got a metal band that I'm in now, man. called Armageddon Time. Yeah, I'm the vocalist for that, and we got
It's
a thing
called
coming.
Armageddon Time. What is it?
Yeah, Armageddon Time. Yeah,
Armageddon Time.
And Anticore is gonna put that out. That's like a label that picked that up, and because we're just like a group, man. But it was one of the greatest challenges. I got asked to do it. Like the drummer persistently was like, "Yo, man, you think you'd be down to do this thing?" And I kept kind of like sleeping on it. And then finally I was like, "Yo," someone just told me, "Yo, just do it, man. The worst thing that'll happen is you'll fail at it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's a good idea. That's a notion I've lived by." And it ended up being so much fun.
Are you doing your just normal vocal? Or you?
I mean, it's kind of like I'm not going into like the growling or nothing like that, or going into any kind of thing that's outside of me. It's still some Blackliq shit, but it is different because it's like I mean, it's kind of like how Ice-T versus Body Count.
Yeah.
In some ways, and also it's D beat, it's kind of punk, and kind of thrash, and it's not like the heavy. Like, I like the heavy, dark, brutal stuff like Cannibal Corpse and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
and it's nothing like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's this wise also. I gotta say, always, man. Nas, Jigga, Pac, Big.
Right.
The standards, man.
Yeah, for some reason, I just didn't have a connection with Tupac, but I don't know why. I don't know why it is Tupac or Biggie. I never.
I'm gonna say the thing that nobody wants to say ever, man. Because Tupac made a lot of shitty records,
right?
And Big made a lot of really good records that aren't about anything,
right?
So it's like there's this, and Biggie will always have the most consistent flow, but Pac also, when Pac is on, it's without comparison. So that's what I loved about them, is the two of them, they are the maximum, and when you experience that as the minimum, it's undeniable.
Right. Yeah.
I loved him in, what was that movie he was in?
Who?
Was he in Poetic
Justice? Yeah, Poetic Justice. Yeah.
I love the one that him and Tim Roth, Gridlocked.
Heroin.
Yeah, where they're the heroin junkies. That's a good movie.
That was really good.
Yeah.
But I was never into either of those.
I think you and I just missed it too. And I always blamed it on us being suburban people, but I don't know. Yeah.
I was listening because around that same time I was listening to like Far Side.
That's what we were listening to, Far Side. Yeah.
Quest and things.
Yeah, you guys were eating baked potatoes while everybody else was eating French fries. That's all that is.
That's right. That is such a great way to put it. Well, what about Bus Driver or Busta Rhymes?
Oh, Busta.
Okay.
And he's another one. He's another one that's like Redman, Busta, like those guys. Come on, man.
Yeah. What about Bone Thugs or Young Thugs or Young Thug?
So like I did 2 shows with Bone Thugs, so I got to ride with Bone Thugs. But Young Thug, have you ever listened to Barter 6 before?
No.
He's like, oh man. So like Young Thug, he's another person who has an immense library of music, and a lot of it can bounce around. Like I believe he's reached a new focus, but Barter 6 was early. And my man Bando hassled me to death to listen to it, because I was like, I'm not listening to this guy, the dress guy, really. and I ended up, because I was like, yo, he's just doing things like to shock people,
right? And
it turned out Barter 6 is an extremely focused exhibition of what his talent truly is.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I would highly recommend it. Anybody who hates on Young Thug and thinks, oh, he's not saying nothing, listen to Barter 6.
Okay,
it is
because I have never even really gone into any of his music.
Yeah, it's Barter 6, man. It is just wow.
Well, okay, how about Raekwon or Ray Charles?
I'm gonna go with Raekwon, man. Chef, bro. I have to.
How about this one? St. John's Historical Chapel or Fiona Apple?
All day Fiona, bro.
Yeah, you know where I'm going with that.
Let me Fiona.
So right the concept of your album title, right? It was a compelling concept. I mean, can you speak on that? What about that?
Yeah, so I've been sober for 9 years, and the Fiona Apple album was my first when you get sober, like all this like shit comes up, right? And I, at that time, like people had known Blackliq. What does Blackliq do? Black's aggressive, it's lyricism. He's about like hip hop, his authenticity, blah, blah, blah. But like, it was like, man, if I don't share these emotions with people, I'm going to drown in them. And so I decided to share my vulnerability as as strength. Like, and Fiona Apple is that's what she does. She takes all her weakest, lowest moments and she turns them into a true beautiful form of strength, of vitality, because she might say this is killing me, but she never dies. And I was at a nonprofit meeting, and a guy named Ben FM, he was like, yo, you should just make an album like off of Fiona Apple, because we were just talking about her. And I was like, you know what? Cool. And then I went and hung out, and I wrestled with it, and I went and saw my homegirl Josie. And I was like, I just don't know when I'm going to start writing again. She's like, why are you waiting? Just write. And I went home and I wrote Monster. And from there, that was a project that was a major turning point for me. But I shared lots of personal narratives. And when it came out, people were like, why is Blackliq talking about relationships and feelings? But I was like, because I'm a person, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I'm not allowed to live. Like, you expect me to just go on and on aggressively? I mean, I had to I dropped Fall for the Fly, which is like a lot of outtake records after that, just to kind of steer the narrative, because I was like, I'm not going to go back into the Fiona place necessarily. You know, Anti was where I was carrying it next, and I knew I was headed towards that. But Fiona it's the hardest album for me to listen to still to this day, but it's also probably some of my best writing.
Is it because it's so raw? I mean, I know you're usually always raw, but it brings back so much memory of.
I relive all that shit every time I listen to
coming
it.
clean.
Yeah.
Getting sober.
I love
hard.
I love the fact that you called it Tidal. Her first album was Tidal, but Tidal, and even having 10 tracks. Hers was 10 tracks. I love whole concept albums that. Yeah, I thought that was pretty amazing. So yeah, I'm glad you knew.
Thank you.
I mean, if Fiona Apple's name comes up, you know exactly where someone's headed with that. So.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing I will say, not to go on too long about it, but the other thing is that, you know, it's when like her latest album, the one that got her the Grammy and stuff, I couldn't listen to it because, and I was happy I couldn't listen to it because Fiona Apple's happy now.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's a happy album. And I was like, you know, there's nothing on here where she sounds miserable. And I was like, there's nothing. I was like, I'm happy for her. That's the greatest accomplishment ever, is to really finally reach that great place of self-acceptance and bliss and not be ignorant. And that's what she did. And she was recognized for it. But she still couldn't go to the awards show. She was like, I can't take it. Right. But I didn't. I was like, yo, I'll never hold that against her. But I definitely, I think about that often, all the time.
Well, slightly on that note, I had read a tagline somewhere, maybe on one of your pages or something that it was said like tapping turbulent times, which I was immediately drawn to because the opening line of my career, my artist bio is creating works fueled by music and the nostalgic memories of my turbulent teenage years. Obviously, the turbulency between what you're talking about and mine are probably completely different. But I'm curious, as I've gotten older, it's gotten harder for me to tap into that because life has sort of gotten a little bit better for me. I'm married. I've got 2 kids. But I've always used that music that I listened to during those times to sort of bring it back. But turbulent times aren't necessarily my muse anymore. So there's a weird change there because I always want to be authentic. I've always been that way, but there has been a weird change for the last few years with my work. So I'm wondering, being that you tend to pull from some of the turbulent times, does that become a crutch for what you write about, or is it hard? Is it too hard to just rely on certain muses?
Well, I think that so my artistic approach and the sharing of my narrative, I know that there's people who manufacture chaos and hardship, and that's the toxic, dangerous side. And I don't do that. I rely on what's happening and I reflect. Like yesterday, I was just minding my business, and I got in my mind. Suddenly I remembered a song that I wrote and then recorded on my album from way back where I first made a change in my life, Lick State of Mind. And it's a song called Life. And I was compelled to go listen to it. And man, it was a bleak landscape in there, man. And it was still it was still this though. It was still the way I feel.
Right.
I feel like I started yesterday, but even though most of like my life is completely different now, like financially, mentally, spiritually, physically, everything is different, but I'm still the same. And so I try to always tap into what got me through it versus what I was going through.
Yeah, that's the trick to it.
Yep.
Yeah, because I do find that because I don't subscribe to the an artist has to be sad or alone or have pain to be able to create. So that's why I wanted to bring that up, because I wonder what the trick is there. Not just for me, but for other people, what the trick is.
Yeah, some people, man, they have to have shit going wrong for them to get it right. Like they're self-saboteurs like that. And that's never been my biz. I've always just believed that, like, yo, whatever I'm going through, man, it's just another thing that I'm going to get through, because I believe, man. I truly believe. I've always believed. When no one believed, when everybody laughed, when people looked at me like I was crazy, which they still do sometimes. But like, just when people thought that I was just a person, like, yo, why are you doing this? Like, why are you going to do that? Like, that's dumb. Why don't you just go ahead and go to school, blah, blah, blah. Like, I am in school, bro. This is different, but it's still my school. It's my education. And I mean, again, like people think, one of the things I really would like to demystify always is that, like, people think you're not supposed to have a job, or that, like, you rap, you do music, that's all you're supposed to do. Like, bro, I have a job and I have fun. It's like for fun. And it's one of the best things I did because it really helped me with my communication. And I have like fantastic credit. And I always try, when I did a Dessa show, I was I made sure to speak on, how to build an 800 credit score. That's something I try to include in all my shows, because I want people to know that this real life shit is happening always. It's not just happening in our terms or how we can describe it or create it and manifest it through our art, because we have the ability to depict in some sort of positive light our hardships and give people something that could be looked upon as exploitable or manifested in the form of a medium. I like to try to tell them this entire life, but what I tell my students, this entire life, this entire world is a studio. And there's no wrong way to do it, as long as you get it done and with authenticity and without hurting others, or yourself, even though a lot of this shit does hurt. But like, this is life we're living, man. And to think that you have to do wrong constantly by others and yourself, do grimy shit in order to be like, I can create this stuff, that to me is foolishness. It's like people saying they have to be on drugs to be dope.
Yeah.
Like, I used to believe in so much, I need to smoke this, you know what I'm saying? Or, this, I used to dull my senses because of the overwhelming experiences that I have through my senses, through using these things and just smoking and drinking and shit like that. And I realized that, like, yo, I don't need to, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, what happens if I add by subtracting? Because if you want to get where you want to go, you got to realize, if that's where no one else is, that you got to do what no one else is willing to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm doing everything. I was like, I open for Fabulous, and I'm opening for all these major names that I grew up listening to. You know what I'm saying? I'm in there. I'm highly successful, but inside I feel like a failure. And like, why? Sure. Because I'm constantly going through a cycle of self-destruction in order to build something. And that's not the way it's done. You know what I mean? Like, that's not growth.
I like that you just said that, because I tend to think that everybody must feel that way. But I guess that's not the case, because I always feel like, that I don't feel like I'm necessarily a failure, but I sometimes feel like I'm a fraud, or I should be doing more, or there's like, it's never enough. But it's that same kind of thing.
That's a place to be, but I also, it is a place I think that a lot of people do encounter, whether they try to like define it as imposter syndrome or something. But I mean, just because you're failing doesn't mean you're a failure. And just because you're doing everything you can doesn't mean there's something else you should be doing or that you're not doing. Like, I just think that people don't realize that what you do with your time, the fact that it's magnificent that we are fortunate enough to be able to get up out the bed in itself, like with so much depression and shit that I deal with on a daily basis. I understand that for some people, just like, if you go to an AA meeting or something, you see, like, for some people, just getting behind a podium and giving a speech to a room with 30 alcoholics is like,
that's an accomplishment.
It's like winning a Grammy and an Oscar at the same time, So everybody's success is different, man. And that's the thing, man. I've been wrestling with the idea of buying an 80-inch TV for several days now, man. And it's like, I keep telling myself, don't do it, man, because it's just a want. It's not a need.
Yeah.
And
it won't make a difference.
Exactly. But what I did instead is I look at that. My ability to be able to do that is success, because it's like, yo, all I wanted was, I told Wendy Day, that's another great friend of mine. I told Wendy Day that, like, it's just about being able to have as much access to yourself within your time as possible, and to be able to do things that you find fulfillment in. And the fact that I have the resources and also the discipline to not, to spend those resources in that way, like that in itself is success to me. So the ability to doesn't mean that I have to.
Right. So yeah. You said on a couple of things. Well, the one thing that you had mentioned about you felt like you had to how that whole thing about like, oh, I have to get high to have something creative. Like this is something that is one of the comments that's always drove me nuts that people will say to me when they want to compliment my work, but they're like, oh, like give me some of what you're smoking or something, and it's always drove me crazy, because I was creating like this before I ever even used any drugs. And I'll smoke every once in a while, but I never used it to be creative. I know they're wanting to compliment me, they just don't quite know how, but little do they know they're actually like degrading what I've created from my mind, not from
microaggressions.
Yeah. That's why I like doing radio and having people. It's a medium where, like, yo, you got to come through, and even if you got bent before you got there, something like when you show up to me, I'm not gonna let you use the writtens, and I'm not gonna. You can't curse, can't use the N word, you can't curse. So you're already disarmed from all your most reliable weapons. Yeah. So now you have to find out, because the one thing that we're always trying to do is get away from ourselves. Even if we're trying to call attention to ourselves, we're trying to get away from ourselves. And I would be like, yo, I'm taking away all your little easy ways of doing things, because I want you to see that you are great. You're all that you need. You're great. So why do you need all these extra things? Like, I've always said sobriety is like Sylvester Stallone's speech in the special features of Rambo, the last one that came out. Well, the one before the last one, the one in Burma. And the special features on that joint, he talks about how when they made that movie, it didn't have a score. And when they tested it in audiences, because of how raw and visceral it is, people couldn't make it through the whole movie.
Right.
And so they had to add a score for them to be able to tolerate it. And that's all smoking and drinking ever really felt like to me, was like a score. My life I'm addicted to working and to this. I was never really like, I'm fortunate. I didn't have to work a program. I didn't really go through much Jones. And like, I quit processed sugar like recently, over like 5 months ago. Oh, and it was horrible. It was like, I've never had like, you wake up and you have a craving. I was like, yo, this is like, that's foul, dude. You know what I mean? So like I eat a lot of fruit, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm still getting natural sugar and stuff, but I was like, what direction is this going to take me in? And it's just like, society makes it so easy to access, and that's where the excess comes from. But it takes us as accountable people to recognize that the excess actually comes from us being so vulnerable and lacking the discipline. And so, sobriety, it allowed me to truly test my discipline and to create a new discipline in itself. Like, I mean, it's hard as hell for me to deal with it's like everything screams at me. But now I've turned that noise into sound, and that's how I found my place. And I remember like when things changed for me, when it like being sober went from having my eyes open all the time and being like, yo, why do I feel like this, to being like, yo, this is me. And that's why I have no reason to ever go back because of that. Like, I'm around drugs all the time, man, and I just have no interest anymore.
That's powerful. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, this was not even going to be a good transition to it, but how about Transformers or Voltron?
Oh, you bastard. Damn it. All right. So I'm gonna go Transformers, but I always loved the fact that Voltron was about coming together. And Voltron looked so damn cool, man.
I know. I used to always try to draw Voltron when I was younger, and I could never pull it off.
Edgar
Allan Poe or D'Angelo?
Oh, two VA icons. I'm gonna go D'Angelo because D'Angelo told tales from the heart, and Edgar Allan Poe was always based on. For me, it was always a telltale heart.
Yeah. Oh, look at you. That's a
Yeah.
solid answer for those. Because I was going to throw in Amy Man or Method Man,
Mm.
but you had
I'm
already. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm always a meth man, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like Method, yo. Like I never understood why it is that like Method Man. Uh, like I just think Method Man became his own brand, and that was like his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. Because you got to think, man. I think Method Man doesn't get half the credit he deserves because you listen to any Method Redman album, and those are all Redman beats.
Yeah.
How the hell do you have enough skill as an MC to survive on home court advantage Redman? But every time, every time. And he has the character and the marketability that Redman doesn't have necessarily because Method Man is always, he's intimidating. Like he's definitely like, he's incredible, man. So yeah, I don't know what else I can put next to the Meth Man. Like, yo, he's just, I used to hate that song Method Man, and I hear he hates it too. But like,
You can't not hear it. You
you
just say Method Man and you just start spelling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an album.
Genius.
We played a lot of Method Man in the car back in the day.
But did he not carry? Okay, I'll show my ignorance here. But did he not kind of carry Redman because was Redman prior? I mean, I guess they probably came up at the same time, but it seems like Method Man was really pretty famous because of Wu-Tang, and then he and Redman got together, and it almost seems like he kind of carried those albums, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like I used to when Method Man and Red would drop an album together, I'd be like, oh shit, I can't wait, and then I hear it and be like, oh, he's not rhyming with any kind of Wu beats, and I mean, they're just two characters who really bring balance to each other's strengths.
And that's like the trick. Balance.
Yeah, like that's the trick. So it's one of those things where the different elements accentuate each other, and it's like this great cuisine. I'm not a big food person though. I used to thug it out, especially when I was a chubby kid. And
you were a chubby kid?
Yeah. There's some TBTs out there, believe me. But yeah, what he called Meth and Red, like there's synergy and the symbiotic characteristics are like really expressed in it. Like, yo, you hear Method Man, it's iconic, but then when you see Redman with Method Man, you see how much it pushes, and they push each other, and I love it.
I also liked the fact that when the two of them were together, that was an element itself. For me, it wasn't like Method Man, Redman. It was like the element themselves. Because I feel definitely the same way about Hail Mary Mallon, and I'm sad that there probably won't be another one. But I liked the way Rob Sonic and Aesop Rock were together. I thought they sounded great together, and they were an element away from each other. I don't know.
Yeah, I got to see them when I went to the Impossible Kid show, and I covered it, so I got to hang out with all of them, and watching them rock together on stage was like, it was an exhibition. I'm a student, man, and I studied the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Like it was beautiful.
I want to just bring up Method Man and Redman are on tour right now together, just FYI.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But you keep referring to the fact that you are a student and you're learning. And that I think was something that turned me on to when I pushed play on your album. I had to sit down because you instantly had me learning. And I have told Tai before that I'm not interested in listening to a lot of interviews and this and that because I don't feel like I'm really learning anything, and I have to constantly be learning. But that's I think why I was able to relate to your music so quickly, because you were just automatically teaching, like,
thank you,
teaching you. So like I don't know where I was going with that. It was just you were mentioning it, and I feel like I'm a constant student also, and if I'm not constantly learning, then I'm wasting my time.
Hey, look, I said on the song "The Best," we take L's, then we earn, so we learn, and that's who I am, man. That's me. Like I've taken so many L's, earning whatever this is that people think I possess in life, and that's how I know I'm in the right place. Though is like I'm constantly trying to not know. I don't even want to get to the point of unlearning because that means I had to know something. I'd rather just stay constantly in a realm where I'm finding out. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm getting to that place of where you're really experiencing and interpreting, and it's alive, man. Because textbooks are where knowledge goes to die.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, but it's a hell of a compliment from my wife to say how well of a teacher you are, because she's the teacher of she's homeschooled our kids since they were born. They're 15 and 13 now.
14.
Wow. Yeah,
14.
I'm not a teacher. I would say a coach, because I can only guide them. I can't teach them anything.
The private school that I teach at Sabbath at Stony Point is a Reggio school. So it's really about self-taught and discovery and reflective learning. And that's what you do is you show up and you present like a concept or an idea or something. And then the kids, I hate to use that term, but the students, they express their understanding through exhibition. That's why, like my class, my hip hop class there, I do a hip hop creative writing class. I teach the middle school students. It's always cool to see them navigate their own thought process and express it in the medium of hip hop. And I like to slide in beats that are like hits from the 90s or whatever that they probably haven't heard, and to see if they naturally would dive into that pocket, because at that time, like those songs were mythological, incredible brilliance that couldn't be done. It seems superhuman. And to hear a seventh grader hop into the pocket of Bone Thugs or something is always shocking.
Do they percentage wise, do they get it, or is it?
Oh, it's not that they get it, it's that they got it.
Yeah,
and
great.
That's where I'd be at with them. And like they always, and that's my goal, is to help you see that you already had everything I supposedly taught you. But the one thing they teach me is the one thing that your wife has exponentially, which is patience.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Patience is so massive. People tell me all the time, when they see my drawings, they're like, "Oh, you must be really patient." And I'm like, "Hell no, I am not patient at all. I can't."
That's when it matters.
Yeah, it absolutely. Yeah, she's so patient with our kids and just so patient with me. Yeah, I don't know. That's a gift for sure. Yeah. You knew where I was going with the other. Those Sophie's choices I was getting. They were Amy Mann's, also from Virginia. Richmond. I was going to ask, what's the history? What's your history there? Is that where you're born and raised? Is that?
I was what do you call, man? Like the song says, I got a Richmond song, and that's on my old joint. I always say I was born out west, but raised in the east because the fam had to eat. We went state to state on a styrofoam plate, ate fast food in classrooms, though they had to wait. By the time I arrived, I was in third grade. I never thought that this would be the place that we stay, VA. And
it's awesome.
And my brother, he was in 8th grade when we got here. I was in 3rd grade. I was born in Loma Linda, California. And what happened is my father was a telecommunications installer. We followed fiber optic work across the country, and I lived in lots of hotels and sketchy places. And it was a unique education where my mom, really stepped up and gave us a lot of homeschooling, but also freedom. So I really respect the fact that you have provided education for them like that. But Richmond became home in 3rd grade, and there were different levels and layers to it. And I grew up first. I lived in a hotel, then an apartment, then back in the hotel again, and then a house, and then just lots of different things. So I like to say, I always try to give credit to Virginia being my home, and kind of it's not where I was born, but it's where I became. I was born again.
Was Richmond was the stable place? Was like
if you want to call it that, it was.
Yeah, sure.
It was like the. It was where the boss fights took place. All the other levels led to this boss fight. It's like in Mega Man, where you got to fight all the bosses over and over again at the end. And that's what Richmond has been constantly. And I always tell people, despite Richmond is for haters being the big funny thing that we had, where people love things in Richmond until everybody else loves it, then they hate it.
Yeah,
it's so one of those things where Richmond is the place where it's an incredible place for creators, but a terrible place for consumers.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything you want, you can create in Richmond, but anything that you want, you can't get in Richmond because you have to create it.
Yeah.
And I wanted shows. I threw shows for 8 years, over 40 events. I wanted radio airplay. I do 2 radio shows a week on 2 different stations. I wanted magazine coverage. I got into writing for a magazine for a while. I wanted to do experience, you know, and ironically, I just got an Instagram notification that the magazine I wrote for did something that they tagged me in.
Awesome.
What it is.
Yeah. Do you want to give them a little shout out?
Oh yeah, RVA Mag, man. They were the first ones to really give me a chance to editorialize. And I covered random things.
I've seen that. I've seen that with RVA. So that's a magazine.
Yeah, RVA Mag. RVA is just Richmond, Virginia. It's like Richmond used to be the RIC, and then it became the RVA. There's different eras of Richmond, so to speak. But one of the things that really changed this town was when VCU and the Havoc thing and the team going into the Final Four. It kind of changed the way that this city viewed itself. And it gave people the inspiration of possibility yet again. And it revitalized a lot of the VCUs, they've got endless money, just like U of R, and they invested. And it made people in Richmond in particular, not just Virginia, it made them believe. And, Richmond is Richmond to a fault sometimes. We shut down a lot of massive entities that would bring us more commerce and more tourists. Like we just shut down a casino. We shut down a Coliseum before the pandemic. And, it's at the same time, it is what keeps Richmond. It's a double-edged sword. Mm-hmm. But this place has been, if you can make it anywhere, and I've made it here. People always say, like, I'm an RVA song, which is the sequel to Richmond. I always say, people always told me, I should leave because Richmond is a trap. You know what I'm saying? It's a place where, where dreams die. And they always said that skills ain't coming back, and skills even came back, and, it's one of those things that I've made myself a world, and it's cheap living here, and but it's expensive time wise if you want to build it. But I've built it over these years, and I have no regrets. I'd have it no other way, man. I'm so glad that Richmond also adopted me.
And that's awesome. What was Richmond? Was that the place that you because you were saying that you were doing a lot of hotel to was Richmond though the spot? Because what I was saying about it being like this, it was this place where it was that movement sort of stopped. Was that where you guys landed?
We landed. So the thing is that when you go through so many different states and you go in and out of schools, Richmond was a place where I was in one school district for the most part, but also it still felt the same as moving constantly because we lived in a hotel and then we lived in an apartment complex. We lived in that hotel again. And the hotel I lived at was amazing. It was like the projects. It was called the Red Carpet Inn. And it doesn't exist anymore, but it was a red carpet inn and there were all kinds of crazy things going on. You had Louis next door, was a Vietnam vet who used to make crock pot spaghetti and sleep with prostitutes. You had Lisa down at the end of the balcony, who was a phenomenal artist, but also had a kid who probably had ADHD. And, we think she was also selling sex or something on the low. And then you had nights where crazy things would happen. All the rooms had a giant window. And one night a prostitute broke the window and then was dragged down 3 stories. And so she left a blood trail the entire place. So they put a red carpet over it.
Oh, that's why you guys. How old were you when you were staying at that place?
I don't even know, man. It had to be 3rd grade, whatever that is. I'm really bad with dates, but I was a kid.
That was, you were impressionable on that.
My childhood ended in 5th grade. I had a grand epiphany that my parents were people that were just trying to figure life out as well. And they were no different than me, and my childhood ended.
Man, that's incredible. That's incredible that you discovered that at 5th grade, because I didn't discover it until after I had kids.
Wow. Holy shit.
I just realized when I had kids, I stopped being blaming my dad and my mom for stuff. And I was like, wow, they were just human beings that were going through life trying to figure out what the hell to do as well. I propped them too much as being these mom and dad instead, and just going we're all just people trying to get through life.
Trying to navigate this mess. And that's the thing is I talk a lot about my childhood in my music, and I always, saying I say like my childhood sucked, my life's great. It's never to discredit all the work that my parents put in. Like I learned the great, even with my father's incarceration, of course, the maintaining of his innocence. I've learned through those hard moments and experiences so much about what it takes to truly to live, man, and to earn. And like my mom is a master of compassion, and my father's a master of work ethic. And I got to see those things from day one, even in their conflicts where she was leading with kindness and he was leading with like, we need to get money, I need to work, blah, blah, blah. Like it was something where, yeah, there were negative learned habits and things that were certainly behaviorally reproduced or manufactured. My brother and I definitely have been testaments to that at times, but like, I can never discredit the contribution to my life that my childhood gave me. If I had something that was roses, I would have, God forbid, if it was just the top of the flower, I never would have known so much about the thorns.
Yeah.
And encountering that early made me understand, so much more about this. And not understand to the point where I know, but be capable of recognizing what I perhaps didn't know. And that's kind of what was the end of the it wasn't the end of my innocence so much as it was the end of my ignorance by just seeing that, like, yo, this shit at some point I'm gonna be in the same bind that they're in. So I better pay attention.
Yeah. God,
how old are you?
No, everybody wants to know. I'm not going to tell you. It's one of the grand mysteries of life.
What year
Everybody
did you graduate?
always wants to know.
That would be the same thing, Adrienne.
Yeah, exactly. That's all. I knew all the tricks, man. You know what I'm saying? I always say that the real question isn't how old I am or how old you are or when or why. The real question is how wise are we?
Yeah.
That's the question we have to focus on answering. And the answer is always going to be not wise enough.
Yeah. Never.
That's why wisdom ends with dumb.
The timer officially went off. Do you mind going like a few more, like 10 minutes? Yeah. Okay.
Man, this drawing is so crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of you know.
That's beautiful.
And then my wife, the idea this morning, she was, because Blackliq is black liquid for short, right? So she was like, yeah, I have them melting into black liquid. So I've got this, that is kind of melting a black liquid down in here into the glass.
Yeah. Oh, it's that's fantastic, man.
So one thing I started to like to do on the shows, I like to just introduce some useless knowledge, because I everything about me is I want to learn, and I've found out that I've learned so much I'm not able to retain it anymore. My mind starts to dump what is not helping me or what I'm not immediately being affected with, and so I forget a lot of stuff. Well, either that or dementia's coming on.
Or
I don't know.
you just don't care about some of it.
Or maybe or I don't care. So I'm trying to put together some knowledge that maybe I don't care about, but if it's interesting enough, I'll care about. So this is a real quick one. So it's about Marina Raskova. In World War II, she assembled 3 defense squadrons that were made up entirely of female pilots during World War II, and the 588th Night Bomber Regiment. They performed night raids on the Germans on their, on some of the
like a reverse blitz.
Sort of. They would do like 18 missions a night, and they were doing it in like these shitty planes because they were women. They were given shitty planes that could only carry 2 bombs. The top speed was like 94 miles per hour. But they were doing like 18 raids a night, and they were so effective that the Germans were terrified of them, and eventually they're instrumental in ending World War II. So, and that was a lady named Marina Raskova. She put together.
Where are they? Russian?
Yeah, Russians. Yeah, she put together squadrons of women, and by the end of the war, they did 24,000 combat missions. So,
oh my God.
I use those as a tool. Like when I read about that information, I'm trying to be able to put it in here and be able to tell it and reprocess it, because I don't read. I've never had the ability to read. So this show is also part of me trying to make myself a better version of myself.
Oh, no, I tell people all the time, don't tell anybody I can read, because I can't read. But That's incredible. I mean, the magnitude of 24,000 sorties. That's nuts. I wish I had a random fact to provide you with. I'm trying to think of if there's anything I could give you, something a crouton for your salad here.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask you guys a question?
They
I feel like I never learned it until I started to teach our son about it. But did you guys ever learn that, like, Russia's place in the ending of World War II? Did they ever emphasize that in American school?
Well, they didn't learn much in American
it
schools.
was all Russia is all we ever learn about Russia is communism and the bad guys in James Bond movies.
Yep.
Yeah, they were instrumental. I'm pretty sure they were instrumental in, like, the end, because they were coming in on the other side of Germany. You know, it's just anyway.
No, it's fine. Yeah, because I think there's one thing that I didn't learn much about World War II history. I mean, I know I kind of was taught some of it, but I don't feel like they're probably learning anything about it nowadays.
Do you think it's
Who
propaganda
knows,
not teaching us that Russia
No,
helped?
I just think that maybe we eventually start drifting away from things that are taught. I don't know.
I think, I mean, when I was in school, you know what I'm saying, in that ancient time, the thing is that
What
was
year?
for you. That was all. I was like, oh, slide a card, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is that the thing that we always talked about, I hate that they always diminish I guess the advancement of Russia. Russia's always depicted just much like any other, you know, waiting to be hit with the colonist aspect of this some sort of primitive way or simplistic lifestyle. But I always admired the scorched earth stories about how Russia would rather burn it down and let somebody else take it.
Oh, I don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look up scorched earth, I'm pretty sure it's attached to Russia. And that's something that always stuck with me. It's like, what's the one way that, you know, if you're in a situation where you're not going to win and you're being destroyed for something you possess, then at that point, is it truly self-destruction to destroy that which is about to be usurped, or is it a power move? And the fact that they had the courage to do that, to burn their fields, to burn their structures, that is that to me was always poetic and powerful. And I mean, I had a few Russian friends, you know what I'm saying? Some of them got incarcerated for selling ecstasy at one point or another. But
then they don't get let off light for that.
Nah, but I mean, they were always. I've never met a Russian person that's soft.
No,
some hardness being raised.
Yeah, but they also have huge hearts.
Yeah, that guy who tuned our piano. I think that was the only Russian guy I think I've ever met. Was the guy who tuned our piano, and he was intimidating. He was like, "You want this piece of junk?"
I love they're straight up, yo.
Yeah, we do. Fine, I'll fix it.
And he tuned it, and then he played after it was done tuned on this, what he considered a shitty piano. He played the most amazing, like 15 minutes of just playing this really incredible, beautiful thing. And then we had a glass of vodka.
Yeah, beauty doesn't require a frame, man.
That's right.
It just requires appreciation, and it can come from anything.
Do you have any collections of anything? Do you collect anything?
Video games.
I
have an immense library of video games, like all the way from regular Nintendo and Sega Master System up to a PS5. And I have a closet over here full of hundreds of games, and that's what I do is I play video games, and it occupies part of my mind, just like working a job does.
Yeah.
And it allows me to create. And so that's what I do mostly is I play video games, and I do things that occupy a couple of different senses. And I also credit video games to being one of the ways that I learned how to read, which don't tell anybody. But they were item management, was inventory, and plot lines, narratives was literacy. And the two of them were balanced by the math that comes from a score. And so, that's kind of like, and also the amount of patience and discipline and persistence it takes to do certain things in video games. Like I learned so much about failure not being the end just by pressing start to continue.
Yeah, I've now, just like from the time that we've spent with you, which isn't that long, I feel like what your skill is is observance. You're incredibly at observing and being able to recognize that every moment is a moment to learn. And because I sometimes will just pigeonhole like, I stopped playing video games because I felt like it was eating up my drawing time. Like I would think like, I should be drawing instead of like even just thinking like, I'm learning, this is what I'm getting from it. But not that this is only what my perception of it, but not that you sit there and you have to contemplate it all the time, but you're definitely, your ability is to be able to turn that into knowledge. So I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. It's transmutation, perhaps.
In this book that I just read on brain health, they're starting to study having older folks play video games to help stop dementia and Alzheimer's.
Oh, wow.
That's
interesting. Dope.
Yeah.
Well, I
think it's elasticity.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they say to take a different, when you're starting to get the older years, take a different route home or something so that you're experiencing something new all the time. We live on the road. We're on the road about 8 months out of the year, so we travel. We're always, occupying the mind with something. Real quick, I wanted to this was something that I wanted to ask because when you were talking about it, one thing that we're always wondering how our kids will turn out because they've grown up on the road. They've been traveling since they were born. We always wonder how that affects them in their future. So I was kind of thinking, what you learned from all that movement?
Is that, how can I phrase this for you? Is that it takes everything, but it doesn't take much. So, and to expand on that, it's like I learned that in living with my family in a hotel room, that all that mattered is that it was home. I didn't need, when I used to go to a friend's house and their house was huge and their family was so disconnected, even though my family was dysfunctional in some sort of way, if you want to look at normalcy as some sort of baseline. I've always just realized, just like my story in music and whatnot, is that you don't need much because it's just being able to appreciate the moments and the things that come with it. I loved living in a hotel. Like I loved it. It was so amazing. Every day was something new. And I realized it doesn't take much for me to be happy because happiness is a choice. So I think that your kids are going to grow up to have a unique appreciation of what home is, because home is inside of you. It's not whatever you're inside of.
Yeah, that's good. That's some good stuff.
I'm not particularly worried.
No, we're not worried. I'm always curious to find out how someone that came from similar. I'm just curious of how it affected them.
Yeah, I think because we take them out of their neighborhood, away from their friends, away from their family, have been doing this since they were babies, and then they have to deal with what is on the surface. So they can't just run and go.
That's the thing, though, is that if you're raising incredible human beings who are constantly figuring out who they are, then no matter, like for me, that's one of the greatest gifts I got from the way I grew up, is that no matter where I go, I'm me.
Yeah.
My brother, he was kind of a social chameleon. I used to love bringing this to whatever I was involved in, regardless of the outcome, whether people thought I was cool or weird or whatever, just being able to be me.
Right.
And that's what I've done now as an artist, as a lyricist. I can go anywhere. I'm in a metal band, man. You know what I'm saying? I have a TED Talk. You know what I'm saying? I've taught in juvenile detention centers. I've taught in corporate buildings. I've taught in public schools, private schools, and I've learned in all those places. But I've always just shown up as who I am. In the corporate world, they used to always say to me, yo, everybody around you is so miserable and you're having a great time. And I was like, yeah, because this place is like a hotel. And it's like a good hotel because there's no beds. Like, it's fun. And I get to hear and learn from people, like, working a corporate gig and being like on a phone, like at a call center, is like one of the greatest things, because you can learn about everybody's mistakes. They're only calling you because they need help.
Yeah.
And then you have the ability to help them and when you help them, you can help yourself. I multiplied my worth times 5 by working in a corporate building. Like straight up, I learned about how to flip money, how to flip credit scores, all that. And that's what I always tell people, bro. You want to get an 800? I can help you get there.
Well, that's awesome. I like it. I never thought I would ever brag about my credit score because I had a shitty one.
You had a terrible.
Exactly. I'm the only one in my family who has good credit and has money, which is crazy. And the best part is, despite this, everybody thinks I'm broke, which is awesome. But also, it's like you can't rob me of my credit score. So that's like, right. I'm not sitting on a big bag of cash. You know what I'm saying? You're better off robbing the bank. But I'm not the kind of person who wants to buy a car or buy things. I just want time, man. Time to invest and not just spend.
Be authentic.
Time is such a currency at least in my life. Like that's
time is the price,
currency. Man. Yeah. Such a great title. Let me hit you with a few of these Sophie's choices real quick. De Niro or Pacino?
Pacino.
Rihanna or Keanu?
Keanu. I met Rihanna, Keanu.
I'm going somewhere.
Did
you
say you met her and then you went with Keanu?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just let.
Yeah. Mark Maron or Charlize Theron?
Oh, Charlize.
This is so. Here's the final one. The Devil Wears Prada or The Devil's Advocate?
Oh my gosh, yo! I knew it. Yo, The Devil's Advocate. Let me tell you something real quick, man. That is the movie. I can't believe that you did that. Yo, Devil's Advocate is the movie. It is the one that I love how in this darkness has crept into my world. Now I look like the Boston Star Fox. I'm just like a face in hands. This is great. I was like, I'm gonna turn the light on, but I'm enjoying this so much.
It's good.
but The Devil's Advocate, that is my movie, man. That was my first. It is a true it is a dissertation. It's an education on what success is like. Because everywhere I go, where I level up more and more, it's emulated in that film. More opportunities for lust, lack of trust, lack of values, the question of self-worth, trying to figure out how to navigate the constant challenge of being yourself and bringing your morals and values to a situation where they have no value, and then making a choice to accept whether or not you can take the shortcut, finding out that you had leverage you didn't know about, like all these things, and how to deal with just the constant erosion of morals and whatnot. Like I've seen that movie over 28 times.
Wow. I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
I used to watch it all the time, Adrienne. You should remember. I mean, it was on all the time.
And I was. It's so crazy that you brought it up because I was thinking about it when we were talking about egos. Because there's a line in this soliloquy, in Pacino's soliloquy, where he says people build, when he's talking about Eddie Barzoom, he says we build egos as big as cathedrals. And I always thought that was such an ill bar, because that's what we do. Is think about the premise. You have the devil talking about the house of God, and the house of God being something. The house of God is supposed to be within man. Yet a man builds a giant building as a testament to his greatness instead of God's greatness. It is just mind blowing. Like, oh man. And that's also my favorite Charlize movie. Like, I love Charlize. I think Monster was like an accomplishment in itself. But I love Keanu in it because he knows what he knew at that point. You know what I mean? And then Charlize was gorgeous, but also she represents corruption and sacrifice. How people are willing to throw the one thing they believe in the most away for a bunch of shit that means nothing. Mm-hmm. And I could just go on and on. Pacino
I love that. I love the film altogether.
Two of the words that you just said. Do you think there's an erosion of morals happening in our society right now?
I think people are being who they are more than they've ever been, because I think if you look at civilization, it's terrible the way it's been developed. I love Fox News. I watch Fox News like it's Comedy Central all day. And I just love it, because I even have a Fox Nation account because one of my friends is in the armed services. So I got it for a year for free. And it is hilarious to me because these righteous principles that are totally toxic are presented constantly as values, American values. And they'll never hesitate to say this country was built on blood and sweat. And it's like, so you mean murder and capitalism, right? And the idea that we constantly look at life as something to exploit, often through the suffering of others, and how we, like, you read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's like, I'm not exploiting these people because they'll accept the pay. But now, I mean, look at life and look at this employment crisis that we have, where it's like, yeah, there's tons of jobs because people refuse to be devalued. Now they've had a chance to access the true value of their time again, because they constantly were being distracted and forced to go down this 40-hour work week bullshit path where you're getting paid a third at best of what the company's making off of you. And so all these new things, these new social agendas are also bringing to the other side, to the forefront, more of the terrible aspects of who people are and have always been. And like, when me and my mom talk a lot about this, she's like, there's so much death on the news. I'm like, this is how the world has always been. It's just not everybody has a camera. So the internet has made everybody a news channel, is my philosophy. I believe that we're all networks. And what happens is that then the major medias now, even the music industry, everything has to embrace the simulcast. The simulcast is the syndication of what is being locally displayed, and local, of course, is the internet, and like whatever the highest engaging trend it may be. It's basically non-interactive media has now become something that's dictated by the interactive aspect of participating in the conversation of the internet, which is done through the medium of social media. So it's like, people now, of course, this has eroded even more of our values because they've become more callous. There's a greater level of the true lack of accountability through anonymity, and we feel more entitled and unfortunately empowered in the worst ways. And like, I put up yesterday DJ Payne 1's video that came from my man Jake Palumbo, about how on Instagram, for instance, there's a content filter that's been placed in all our preferences that nobody knows about, limits the kind of content we see because it's rated sensitive. And, it made me realize, like, these platforms, saying we might not own these platforms, but they don't own us. Mm-hmm. But what they do own is our data. And that's how they truly make money. I have a friend who's he's a major social media guy, and he's never in the forefront, but like, there's people, music industry and beyond, whose accounts he runs, and I've seen it, and it's terrifying. And he makes like stupid money off of being on Facebook every day, but it makes him dramatically unhappy because he knows that he's one of the guys. He's probably the biggest social media guy in Virginia. And no joke, like, the portfolio is terrifying, but and the influences too. And it's like, it's just one of those things where, but people participate in generalized emotions at the cost of individual experience. And I think that's what we've always hid from, by and large. But now we are so comfortable with it that we're numb. So it's still the same issue of humanity. We haven't gotten worse. We've just gotten, unfortunately, I would use the C word, we've got comfortable.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a different C word.
No, we've always been callous. But this one, man, I'll just say this, man, comfort is the enemy of progress. And that's what we are stalling out in a lot of ways, because people can so easily access all these impulsive things. And then it's echoed through mainstream media. And people always, like, if you look into the hip hop world, people are like, radio doesn't matter anymore. But it's like, then why are you worried about your position on Billboard? Why are you worried about, what kind of, licensing you can land and stuff like that? Why are you making records that are non-specific in the most specific of ways? It's because you want to be on. You'll throw the stone at the statue until it's a statue of you.
That's right. Yeah, that's so true. That's what, like, it's what, I don't know. I'm not going to try to attach onto that. You already said it beautifully enough. I don't know why I'm going to try to piggyback on that.
You mentioned a book, Rich Dad.
Oh yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad is one that is it's Robert T. Kiyosaki. It's an hilarious work designed to make you not feel bad about pimping people.
Okay,
and
I'll give it a read.
It's always fun. Robert T. Kiyosaki. That's what he got known off of that. He's a money guy. Another book that's great is a Happy Pocket Full of Money. That's my homegirl Dochi. That's killing it right now with TDE and stuff like that. I told her about that joint, and she took that manifestation and the quantum physics aspect of that to the next level. I believe the one book everybody should read though is the Tao, the way.
T-A-O.
Yeah, Taoism, Tao, whatever.
Yeah.
That is, it's one of those things where the simplicity of it is when you see it. Like if I was to put my face up to this piece of paper that he's created this incredible work to, it would be a series of lines. But it's not only the beauty of the mind that allows all those lines to come together, become something that transcends reality, but it also helps me be more informed about my understanding of reality and the limitations that I'm placing upon my consciousness. And, that's why like books like the Bible and stuff like that are so important, because at the end of the day, they're a playbook that proves beyond whether you believe in any of it or not, that people have had the same problems for so long.
Mm-hmm.
It's all it is.
Repeats over and over.
Because people are simple. We're not that complicated. We just like to make shit a lot harder than it needs to be. That's what faith is about. If you stop being afraid, you could just embrace your faith. It's often about the ideas that like, faith transcends fear. People who tell me all the time they're religious and that they're worried, I ask them, how does that make sense?
Right.
Well,
I'm gonna detail this even more, but I'm kind of reached my. I'll put some color and stuff in there.
I was shocked that the illusion becoming real when you took the white and you made it into the glare of the glass. I was just like, what? I was like, wow, because that's the thing, man. It's like that scene in The Matrix where the dude is like, I don't know what any of these machines do, but I know that they're the reason why we're alive. And it's like I had to kind of make myself forget that shit and re-look at the glass now as it was having a glare on it, because it was just like one of those things, man. I mean, it's not often that you want to eat a burger after watching a cow get killed.
No.
But this is one situation where you definitely made me want a sandwich. Wow.
but adding the white's one of my favorite parts. It sort of gives it some life. And I, to be honest, my drawing skill is something that I don't know how sometimes I'll get to something and I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going, and somehow it works.
You just push through.
I just push through it and go.
It's wild. This reminds me, I've been having like a little fun DM conversation with Aesop Rock, like over these past few days. And one of the things that I made the great mistake of looking at something he did at one point in my life. It's kind of commercial because it landed on the Madden soundtrack because of the great powers of RIC. And that's the song Rings. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah. I don't know his whole catalog. He's my favorite.
Ty's a super fan.
I'm a super racer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Rings. That's what, like, he talks in such a beautiful, succinct way about what drawing is, and also like how it feels to pick up another craft and fail at the expense of failing at another, and becoming great at one thing and then revisiting the thing that you wanted to be good at and still failing at it. Like, that song it's so, they'll cut you down just to count your rings. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Like he's
tree rings.
Yeah. And that's like, you look at it. I looked at the song one way, and then one day I just listened to it and I was like, oh my God, like, why? It's infuriating. He's a thing unto his own, man. And that guy will never take credit for it.
I know.
He'll never let you tell him, like, if you give A$AP Rock a compliment, he diverts it to a compliment about somebody else.
No, I think that's why he must have blocked me on his message. So I've been trying. I know he doesn't like to do interviews or anything, but I want to. I think he may know how huge of a fan I am, so he probably doesn't want to hear me dote over his.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I don't know if he likes to just ignore the idea of height, so he doesn't know how highly skilled he is or what. But yeah, man, that's a guy that you really gotta figure out a way to get him to let it down for a second, because he's just. I don't even know, man. He's just one of those guys, yo. Like there's certain people who do certain things, man. Like, and he does a thing that I'm certain about.
Yeah, I agree. He's my number one. I had a chance to meet him because Bobby Freedom was been following my work for a while, and he would end up coming through town and on a Hail Mary Mallon show, and I got to meet him, but I didn't really get to talk to him. I really would love to. I keep trying at him, but I love the fact that on his Instagram he has comments turned off, and he's had that forever.
Yeah,
I just love the fact of I don't know his reasoning behind it, but I feel like he's so confident. Like, you don't need to have anybody else commenting on his shit. He puts it and says, "Here's what I made."
Well, comments get in your head and
I know.
burrow in, and
I love some good comments, man. Like I used to not comment on my comments at all, and now on my to-do list, I put up like today is a comment day, so I'm gonna scroll through my timelines and I'm gonna engage those people in the comments just to see what they have to say. Because when I first, when I got announced as being part of Strange Famous, I'll never forget, like, one of the people who's part of like that whole like Strange Famous, man. They got this audience. It's like, man, they're so great. The Strange fam. And somebody commented and said he doesn't answer his comments, and that shit fucked with me, man.
Yeah, sure.
I was like, who do I think I am?
Right.
That I can, like, I used to just not do it because I was like, man, I'm going to talk to this person forever and they're not going to like me or something or whatever it is. And now I realize, like, yo, this is where it starts. Why am I letting it in there? So now I go back. Sometimes I like what them think, but I'm not going to circle back. But then I come back and I hit them and I respond typically to almost every comment that gets left on. There's some posts that I leave alone. Like I put up a post about the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, and I didn't really engage those too much.
I loved that post.
Thank you.
That was the one that you. That was the one I told. Yeah, I told her the second it came up. That was the one where you. There was at one point where you were like, "I'm tired of people's memes." Of like, yeah, I love that because I wrote that down because I wanted to say I fell in love with these two things that you wrote on that. Yeah, it was the one when, and I actually hate when someone asks me about something that I posted on my social media when I'm talking to them in person.
Yeah, I don't mind at all.
For some reason, it's weird to me. I don't know, but yeah, you said you said I'm not interested in your memes that say the things you think but are scared to say in public or around the people who actually know or deal with you on a frequent basis. I fucking loved that. I loved how quick. You were interested on how quick they are willing to let the cement dry on their opinions and then build entire worldviews on top of them. That is brilliant.
Well, you guys, and I know you're finishing up, but that just brings me to like mimetic warfare. You guys heard of that? It's like it's the countries using memes as warfare.
Oh,
and it is crazy if you dive into that little rabbit hole, but America's doing it to other countries are doing it to us. Because when you divide the system up and make it unstable, it's easier to attack, to control, and it's just interesting.
That's horrifying. I'll tell you this, since you brought it, you did bring a thing. I'll tell you about how that post happened. So this is kind of like the way my life is. All right. That day I get up on those weekdays and I get up and I work out for like 2 hours and I go for a mile run. Then I work. Yeah, I work the gig. Oh yeah. That's how one of the things, exercise is one of the ways I combat depression. And I got up and I worked out. And that day I was supposed to take my car to Firestone to get inspected. I made the appointment and everything, right? These Firestone people, things have been kind of weird lately. They always somewhat inconsistent. They take great care of me, but I always had to go around my ass, get to my elbow. And so I got up and I took time off and I worked out early so I could be on time for once. Cause I almost cursed out a lady one time when I was late and I realized this is not the way, bro. So I got there on time and everything. Same time, Rittenhouse verdict gets announced. And the voice in my head when it speaks, man, I have to say it. I got to let it go. And so that day I planned to drop my car off. I was going to take a long walk to the mall, get coffee, return a video game at GameStop because I just couldn't handle Mario Odyssey. I'm sorry. And I was just going to kind of reflect on it, but the words just kept creeping. And so I got there and I went to turn my car in and they're like, oh, you're leaving it for the week? And I was like, nah, bro, Jay told me I could get that joint back by 6. And they're like, nah, we're backed up and we're going to need you to leave it. And I was like, well, I can't do that. Let's reschedule, which is why I have to go Saturday now to take my car. That's another story. But so I ended up in the parking lot at Firestone and I couldn't leave because I had to write that post. And I sat there probably for about 40 minutes, man. and those are the words that came.
Yeah.
And it started out kind of like what I thought. And then I realized that it wasn't even the trial that I was talking about. It was people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to get that off my chest and leave it there because I refuse to harbor that negativity. It's not going to live rent free in my head. And I refuse to say something negative about the fact that despite the amount of disappointment that I might experience on my day-to-day basis from looking at people, I still believe in people, man.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
I've mostly been an optimist my whole life. The last year and a half, I've lost some of my cheer, but it's rented so much space in my head. And I used to, one of the things I used to do is I'd write a whole post and then I'd delete it before I posted it because I've got,
delete.
It was like a helpful thing for me to get it off my chest. Then I felt fine. I discovered when I posted stuff, because it's not my lane, my social media account, my artist account. I have people from I have hundreds of thousands of people that follow my work, not for that. And that's fine. I'm free to say what I want, but that's not why they followed me. So it's just not my particular lane.
Yeah.
Like for you on your account, I follow your Instagram account because I love the shit that you say. I love what you have to say. But anyway, so that whole thing has been, I used to use my wife as the one to dump it, but then I realized that's not a healthy a place to like always dump my shit to her. Then she has to process it, and we're both pretty respectful to each other with that. So I haven't found an outlet of and my artwork's usually where I dump it. But that whole thing, that night we were actually at a bar. We went to a bar to have dinner with some friends, and
it was outside.
It was an outside, an outdoor area. And a guy in the back of the corner, I cannot understand this. It's just been driving me nuts. But the day of the verdict, he was in the back and he just kept screaming, "Free, baby! Kyle Rittenhouse is free!" And then it would go quiet, and I was like, he's got to be joking, or like, what is it, his fucking nephew? Like, why is he so invested in this? And then he started chanting like, "Kyle Rittenhouse," and I just, still to this day, that has been eating me up. I didn't turn to say anything. I don't even know what to say. And look, I'll be honest. Someone that's chanting that, whether I go over and say something, I'm a hothead. And someone that's chanting that is probably armed to the teeth anyway. I'm not willing to die on that sword. And I hate the whole everything about it, but I'm so surprised of how invested he was in it. And the only thing I can compute is that it gave him to feel like that I'm free to fucking say what I want to whatever color you are, whoever you are, in public.
People like that, man. People like that are living to die because they're dying to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're probably miserable in life, trying hard to be some sort of unique version of themselves, but
they need an other in order to be, and that's why their existence will always be derivative, and they'll never be free.
Well, yeah, that one shocked me just because usually people take to social media to do that chant.
Yeah.
And he was doing it in public.
Yeah, that's some scary shit, bro.
Yeah, you're right. Because I was kind of scared. I'm not scared at a bar. Like I'm thick and I can throw it, but I don't care about that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but it's not scary. Like you're afraid of this person. It's the principle and the premise.
Yeah,
and the fact that being vocal, it certainly evokes certain things. Like for me, like I wrote a piece for the Journal of American Folklore for the University of Illinois Press and George Mason University, and the most important moment of the entire thing in Richmond last year during all the craziness, it wasn't necessarily a speech I gave or any of the stuff that came from that. It was when I was downtown, man, and I saw those two girls walking down the street and they had the Black Lives Matter sign. And it was a dark, warm night. And then when they saw me and they were on the same side of the street as me, they immediately walked to the other side.
Wow.
And I was like, this is where we are. This is, you say that you have, that I apparently matter or whatever it is.
Right.
And that you're my equal.
Yeah, but as soon as you saw me, you were afraid and you hardened your heart and you stiff-necked me. And I didn't look at it as like, you bitches, blah, blah, blah. It was just like, yo, it's that the work, it's just proof that the work that needs to be done is going to have to be within.
Yep.
The revolution will not be televised because it's based upon the epiphanies. It's the self-revelation and realization. And also that has to come from self-inventory and self-assessment. I had a corporate executive I talked with, and he was like, what do I do? And I was like, you look at your life and you make one decision at a time in light of this new information. Instead of holding it against yourself, think about it. Because, I mean, you look at the business of white guilt, white privilege or whatever. Like, I got a homie who's a Republican, but he's a grimy piece of shit and I love him. And he and I were talking about white privilege. And I was like, what, are you supposed to, if a cop lets you go because you're white, are you supposed to stop the cop and say, no, give me a ticket? Like, that's not it. What it is that you look at your life and you try to find better ways to exhibit compassion for others and recognize or empathize, but not sympathize, and put yourself in someone else's shoes, but still admit that you'll never be able to walk their path. But maybe you can find a way to help them just by not doing something against them, even if you didn't know you were doing it before, man. Right. Like, get past your present so you can define and decide what your future is instead of looking at your past to be present. You know, like, there's things that need to be done that only people can do for themselves. And so, you know, like you said about overnight success, you know what I'm saying? I say in one of my songs, I'm an overnight success and I ain't slept yet. And like I've always hated the term of conscious music because conscious music is indicative of an unconscious listener. I just believe that, you know, wisdom is recognized by those wise. You know, understanding, you know, it never comes from above. It comes from within. That's why it's under.
Yeah.
Life is a mustache, man. It's right beneath your nose.
Man, you're like chock full of all like perfect lines for everything.
Do you just write everything? You need to write every thought you ever have down because it's
I honestly, the way that I open myself up to the universe is what I always say. And I encourage people, and even you, if you ever want to know what the universe has to say to you, message me and I'll tell you what it says. Yeah. And that's how I speak. I don't think that often because I you know what I'm saying, I know that I thought, but I don't think that often. I just let it exist and let it be. It's not to say that I'm reckless or that I'm aimless. No. I'm where I am and I'm who I am. And this is what it is. And I've been to become and I'm become because I'm becoming. And therefore that constant cycle helps me to reassess and grow, hopefully, and not just change, you know, like change without growth is just a consequence.
Yeah, that's right. Man, let me I'll go to I'll wrap us with just a couple of quick things. Do you consider yourself a freestyle MC or no? I guess you don't. No, I don't want to label it.
I freestyle. Yo, I will freestyle about anything at any time.
40 albums of it.
Well, let me hit you with some people that I've always sort of thought was pretty good freestyle. So I'll use them as some as some Sophie's choices. Well, the one on this one's probably maybe not, but Cannabis or Ludacris?
Just either or.
Yeah.
Luda.
And then you said something about video games, so this is the only one I could come up with for this guy that I think is awesome. But Super Mario or Supernatural?
Supernatural.
I couldn't find anything to go along with him, but he used to be one of my favorite freestylers. Like, I don't know what he's up to these days, but yeah, I saw him live once and I dropped dead with the shit he was doing. Lil' Kim or Rakim?
Ooh, that strangely enough, that is a tough one, but I'm going to stick with Rakim.
Awesome. I like to wrap up the show with a trivia question.
All right.
And I'm going to say easy, medium, hard, or impossible. Which would you prefer?
Well, I do the impossible every week.
All right.
Impossible burger.
Yeah.
I don't have beef with that.
Me neither.
Which contemporary Japanese artist is sometimes called the Princess of Polka Dots?
Yo, I have no idea. I'm just over here trying to connect the dots.
You were close with yo because it's Yayoi Kusama.
Word. I will always keep that inside of me. You know what I'm saying? Yayo Kusama?
Yeah, Yayoi Kusama.
All right, well then like a freestyle, I'm gonna be like connect dots like Yayo Kusama. I don't need no polka. And then, you know, every folk will take a shot, but they can't ever realize that they already occupy their spot. Like it or not, whatever it may be, the cipher begins as soon as it's complete.
Hells yeah. Brilliant. Well, final philosophical question that I do at the end of the show, it is going to be this. Does observation alter an event?
Ooh, science. Yes.
Brilliant. I agree. So thanks so much for joining us. What's in the future for yourself? What does the audience need to know about?
Ooh, okay. So one, there's a gigantic top secret record coming that is going to knock your socks and your feet off, and it's going to change the landscape of much of what you would think an underground MC is capable of accomplishing. And it's done for the right reason with the right people. I can't tell you what it is, but it's meteoric, and I need all fingers crossed horizontally and vertically that it comes to completion.
4.
That's exciting.
Thank you. Number 2 is, of course, we got some more videos coming off Time is the Price. And also, I believe we're doing one for my record on Alexander Brown's album. I've got a couple more projects certainly already ready. And I'll be harassing Strange Famous for us to figure out the calendar. The next goal is a tour. I'm going up to Maine to headline a show on December 13th. And then I might stay another day and go do a show in New Hampshire. Still waiting on confirmation there. But next year I intend to tour and do some stuff in the Midwest because I got a lot of people in Minneapolis that love me and whatnot too. The main thing is that I just plan on continuing to try to give people a different perspective in the sense that I want them to feel valued instead of to look at me like I have something to offer. If I can present art or a language or anything that helps people see how great and important they are and how much they can do in their world, my job is done. And my goal is not to accumulate a pile of players or revenue or attention, but to help you look at yourself more in a positive light. And that can only happen one person at a time. And that's through empowerment, learning, if necessary for me to gain that opportunity, whatever it may cost me. I'm dedicated to it and 100% thankful for this opportunity to live within my purpose.
Yeah, beautifully said. How do you prefer people to consume your music? What's the preference?
I mean, if you want to spend money, you can always go buy it at Bandcamp. But if you want to spend time, and that's all you got is time and attention, and you're happy that you can make enough money just to survive off of your $9.99 a month or whatever it is, stream it. I don't really care. My music is only a stepping stone for us to engage in a dialogue. Listen to my music and then hit me up and tell me what you think, because I'd rather hear from you than you hear me.
Do you have a package on your Bandcamp that you can buy every album at one price?
Yeah, there is an all-at-one joint. I believe it's like $150, something like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I'll be hitting that up today.
I'm a name your price kind of guy.
Okay,
and I just really want people to understand like how much I appreciate the fact that they even care.
Well, I'm grabbing the whole catalog today. I'm a huge support. I love Bandcamp. I love the idea of getting money into the hands of the artists who've created it. So
be prepared for the overflow of things. I'm going to tell you, when you navigate it, it is in as much of a chronological pattern as I could put it. But I'm going to tell you, the now stuff is really special to me because that's me living.
Yeah.
And me living live. And the stuff like from Lick State of Mind up to the future, and This Is Hip Hop and all that, like that is an era of my life that is directly, I believe, tied to this moment. Like I went from there to Title to Anti to now. And I just really hope that it's a lot. So good luck going through it. But there's a lot there, and I hope that you just find something. I hope that it's not a lot in a haystack and that there's a needle, but I hope it's not too many needles as you start looking for a haystack.
Right. Well, I forget to ask people this because this is something I really love to ask. What's the album of yours that you prefer for people to get their feet wet if they've never heard of you? What's the one that's you think is really representative of your work and is gonna make them continue into going into listening more?
Time is the Price, man. The new one, the latest, or whatever you want to call it, the Strange Famous debut. Time is the Price, because that was not the one that I thought it would be, and that's why it is.
And that's the one that hooked me. So I'm glad that you say that, because I'm in all the way.
Thank you. I mean, I can't say enough how Mopes created the soundscape for me to tell my story, and he came with the vocabulary that matched mine and gave me the chance to give you my word. And also, of course, listen to Atmosphere's album. I'm on there too.
Yeah.
But just Time is the Price. Start there and then go crazy. And please, 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 all my social media only exist so that you can say something to me and I can say something back to you. Don't just like and subscribe and all that stupid stuff.
Have something
comment. And if you have music, and this is the other thing, if you have music, if you're an artist and you have music, hit me up. I only play hip hop and, typically on my shows, but hit me up. I'll play your music on my radio shows. I'll tell you why I won't play it if I won't play it. Yeah. And I'll give you my opinion. I have artists who hit me up all the time and just say, hey, and they think that because I'm in a position that they perceive me to be, that I won't take the time to check them out. It might take me a little bit to get to it, but I always hit them back. I always give them feedback. And I love to, if I can, include them in my radio broadcast on 97.3 FM and 90.1 FM. I just really want to do the one thing that I've learned the most about success is about, which is share it. Yeah. It's all about sharing.
You're great at that for people to send music to give them your opinion, because you're really your use of words is you know the right words. You just have it. So I think you're great at that. You. I get asked all the time, and I'm like, I'm not the right person to ask to critique your work, because my word is like, oh, that's awesome. I'm not that good at it. So.
I feel you. No, I really try to give people like succinct but constructive feedback instead of just criticism. And I always try to remind them, one of the best pieces of advice that Slug gave me ever was, you can always make more art, man.
Yeah.
It comes from you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pee my pants.
Oh, sorry. Go. I gotta say this. I just want to say this one thing I heard once that I really loved was, change one word and it makes a huge effect. So when you're talking to somebody, instead of saying, can I ask your opinion on something, just change the word to, can I ask your advice? And people are more apt to step to you and give you advice rather than start feeding you and critiquing you and giving you all their opinion. People like to give advice.
True story.
All right, man. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. Yeah, man, you're really incredible, and I look forward to hopefully that we can be able to rap with each other throughout the future and as time comes on.
Absolutely. Always hit me. I'm always here. And thank you again. Both of you are incredible. I wish you the best. And I'm going to tell you, this is my last thing I'm going to say to you before she pees her pants. Is that I am, that as much as your bladder is full, I know that your children are full of wisdom, love, and life and light from the both of you. So,
thank you.
I hope that
nice meeting you.
Likewise. And you've brought incredible people into this world. I wish you the best.
I'll email you and send you this because I'm sending you this drawing. I want to put more detail into it and stuff. So
it's beautiful. Thank you. My mom can't wait to see it. By the way.
All right. Cheers. Have a good rest of your. Tell your mom hello.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Peace.
I fell in love with the music. Truth is, I hate it. In a sense, it's no different than any woman that I dated or made it. I'm so hard to get to know. I'm so hard to understand. I'm so hard to get in close that you're better off a fan. Keep your distance.
That was close. I almost didn't make it.
Oh, did we just run a commercial?
I don't know. I had to just stop and go pee.
Wow, that was wow, huh?
Yeah, I'm his number one fan.
God dang, man! Speaking with people like that, there are two types of people. There are, for me, when I'm in a conversation with them, one of them who is so. Who can navigate the language so well, but there's the weird cockiness about them. Those people I'm turned off by. Then there's other people whose use of the language is empowering and inspiring, and he's one of those. It makes it like turns me on. Like I love it.
I know. You know how I don't ever go back and listen or watch these, but I might have to on this one because he is so profound and deep that I'm sure I didn't get half of what he was saying. Just like what I was saying on his TED Talk, I have to go back and listen to it 10 more times to like really to understand what he's saying. His words are so great, and
there were a couple of them when he'd stop where he said where it was short. He said what he said,
and I had to let
I'm
it sink in.
Yeah, he'd be like, "Oh shit, that was so profound." Yeah,
he said something about which I really liked towards the end. I wrote it down so that I didn't forget it, but an unconscious listener.
Yeah, I like that.
I loved that because I've been listening to a lot of stuff for a long time, and only recently have I started to hear consciously of what people were saying. So
yeah, I noticed that I have gotten much better at, instead of just using it as the sound wave, because I always just use the music as a wave for drawing mostly. But now since we started doing the podcast and the show, I am actually listening to what people are saying in their lyrics and the things that they have to say. It changes what the music is, so it makes going back and listening to some old music even more fun. So he's got a lot of music that I'm gonna be listening into in the studio a lot that I want to hear what he has to say. So it was really cool talking with him.
I think we went on a little long.
It was about 2.5 hours. But that's okay, I think. If you like what he has to say, there's no reason that you should stop. You can also listen and watch the show in chunks. Like, you don't have to take it all at once. I know I used to be concerned about it, but from here on out, I'm giving you what we recorded. And
either you like what you're listening to or you don't.
That's right.
And on all of these kind of platforms, either you just listen or you skip it.
Yeah. So. He's definitely one that I hope he made it to this far.
Oh, I don't think anybody skipped it.
Yeah. Well, some people don't want to hear it. Am I going to need to, I don't like to get into too much for myself, political stuff, but
I know, but we kind of went there and I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, how can you not? It's almost irresponsible not to.
Well, that story I told, that shook me. It still is. It's still something that's in my head that's really eating away at me, and I'm I don't know.
Yeah, you went and got rid of a bunch of stuff on your phone.
Yeah, it just bothered me. It made me feel. I used to be able to. I feel like I would walk around. I feel safe at places, and now I've ever since then I've found myself like going even into the hardware store, kind of like side-eyeing and looking like, is this the person that's now gonna like, I don't know. Yeah. It's weird. And like I was trying to say, I don't care what position you have on any of it. I don't understand why anyone would be so invested in it. It had nothing. I mean, obviously I don't want to say anything that's dumb. Yeah. I just kidding. What like that? I don't know. Anyway, so it was awesome. It was an awesome chat with Blackliq, and I'm gonna get this drawing. I'm thankful to you for that idea, because that was fun. I'm
excited for all of his new stuff coming out.
Me too.
And I really am wondering, like, if Sage was like, wow, how come I didn't sign this guy a while ago?
Well, when you were bringing that up, I was thinking the right things always happen at the right time.
Yeah.
So maybe the time wasn't right.
And maybe he wasn't. Maybe he didn't know. Because I only thought that because I scrolled through his Bandcamp and saw so many albums that I'm like. But then he did mention that those are a lot of his freestyles from the radio.
His radio show.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, check him out. Go to his Bandcamp. It's Blackliq. That's BlackLiQ.bandcamp.com. You should probably go support him. I'll be downloading his entire catalog as soon as we get off of here, and check him out on his Instagrams. It's all of his Instagrams, I think, too, are just Blackliq.
trying to think he has merch on there.
He does. I think he had. Well, I know on the Strange Famous and the StrangeFamous.com, you can get there's shirts there with his. If you go up to the top, there's merch. Oh no, yeah, there's not merch. So yeah, he's got shirts and stuff on there on StrangeFamousRecords.com. I guess that's it.
I guess so. I had some things I was gonna say.
Go ahead, say them. We're here.
But I've totally forgotten. I have so many notes all over my paper that I don't even know. So
Don't forget to speak right into your mic too.
Oh, sorry. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you.
Yeah, where'd that thumbs up come up from?
I don't know. Did you see? It was shocked. It was a ghost because I was talking about ghosts.
Someone's watching. I had so many things I needed to ask. I didn't need to. I didn't get to 18 of the questions because there was no need because. Everything he was saying was good enough.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So good. And I'm glad that, go watch Devil's Advocate, people.
Oh, yeah, I need to watch that.
I wanted to tell him on he had a friend, I think it's a friend of his, the album cover of his album that was inspired by Devil's Advocate is a drawing of this huge painting that Al Pacino's character in The Devil's Advocate has behind him. It's this really crazy, like almost like spirits and stuff, but the guy, that's what he had an artist friend draw based on that, and that's the album cover. It's really awesome, and I loved his Fiona Apple. That whole cool concept. That album's cool.
Whole story about that too.
Did you hear that album? Mm-mm. That's when we first got the message from him. When I was out here working, I re-listened to his whole new album the whole time I was coming up with stuff, and then I kept listening to that Fiona Apple album. It's called Title, Title, and that album's really fantastic. So check that one out. Adrienne suggests Anti, right? Mm-hmm. That was one of your favorites. And then obviously Blackliq wants you to listen to all of his the Now albums. Those are all live recordings, and I listened to some of those. And it's awesome all the way around. So, and did you see me perk up when he said he DMs with Aesop Rock?
You're like, please.
I'm like, hey, what? Can you send him a message? I want to have him on the show so bad, and I won't. If we ever got a chance to be him, I never treat anyone like that. Like, oh, you're so great, and no one wants to hear that too much.
No, you just go.
No, not at all.
Starstruck.
No, I forgot to mention to him about the Saul Williams thing. I think he would take that as a compliment. But
maybe he'll watch.
Maybe.
Or listen.
I hope he does. I hope he realizes. I'm sure he understands that he's got two really big fans here, and I hope that you'll all be big fans of his and check him out. So, anything else?
Put something in the comment section if you like what you saw, or if you had a question you wanted to ask. I don't know.
Yeah, hit us up, I guess.
We're doing
sponsors now. I don't know. I still feel weird about that. Really, this thing is about just another avenue for my art, like to create my artwork and stuff.
It's fine. If someone wants to sponsor, that's fine.
Okay. My big thing about it, I don't want to exploit people who like my work. I don't want to try to eat them up for their money.
If they're watching this on YouTube, they're probably getting ads anyway.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, leave us a comment. Follow Art by Tai at Instagram and Facebook if you want. I prefer Instagram. And I only prefer Twitter just because I got nothing there. And now it's like an obsession for me. So you can follow at Art by Tai on Twitter. And artbytai.com to buy my artwork and see my artwork. And thank you, everybody. Please share the show, DOD45, with your friends. And go ahead and leave us a comment, see if it's someone else who you think we should be having a discussion with on the show. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Cheers.
The thoughts in my head that take place in my bed, and I don't have to lie, but I do that instead. Things that need to be said, poison in my brain like lead.
Thanks for watching this episode of DOD45. I hope that you enjoyed yourself. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I don't want you to ever miss an episode. Also, stick around my YouTube page for a bit. There's a whole array of videos to enjoy, including time-lapse videos, drawing tutorials, and live streams. It's like an amusement park. Now click that subscribe button and go watch another episode of DOD45. Cheers.